here we are.
Well,
How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing
on,
well.
guys.
We're good.
As always, better than I deserve, man. Better than I deserve.
You know what? I think I messed with your mic a little bit because it was loud, but now you're real low. All right. So we have Nik Kalyani in the house. How are you, Nick?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Chris. How are you?
Good, good. We have a couple of people from the Brewfi group that are gonna stop in here and spend some time with us. But what I thought that the best thing for us to do right now is to talk about any kind of updates that you got, Nick. I know that the actual the uh, the Discord seems to be very, very, very active about the I guess what we're calling the I guess it's the vote. No, so it's going. So when I voted, there was 800 votes that had been already
Oh,
done.
nice.
So and that was a little bit ago. But you got any updates for us or anything like that?
Yeah, so they keep asking me, do you want to know the update tally and all that? I'm like, no, it's a blind vote. Let the developer keep that knowledge to himself. I'll find out on Saturday morning, and I'm fine with that. So, yeah, that's it's going well. And today I posted a worksheet on income for validators and backers, and started that conversation in the full node channel there. So got a good discussion going on there. And basically what I've committed to them is like, hey, this is the start. Let's figure out how we can make this work. So we'll have, I proposed to them that they come up with like top 3 ideas or something. And then we go through and evaluate those ideas on their merits, their pros and cons, and their technical feasibility, which is always a challenge. Like, people might come up with great ideas, but sometimes it's not easy to implement, and so we have to look at that also. So anyway, there's a good conversation going on there. I don't think that that's something that we're going to solve I don't know, the next couple of days, but I'm committed to solving that and making sure that both those core constituents, the validators and the backers, as I'm calling the former light node holders, have a plan that they can all be happy with. At the end of the day, when you have consensus, everyone's going to leave slightly dissatisfied, but overall content, and that's kind of what we're trying to get to.
I think the idea is to paint the macro view of this thing, or the bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
And how it's either an immediate gratification or it's a long term, and we want it to be a long term satisfaction for gratification for everybody, because that's where we all would hopefully win, right? And that's just what's the additive. The maturity is the ability to delay pleasure, right? So let's be mature about this and have an adult conversation about what's going to happen here with this blockchain. So.
Well said, brother. Well said. And Nick, I just wanted to say one thing. First of all, guys, thanks for having me on. Nick, thanks for being here. And Nick, one thing that I see with you and I'm really impressed with is you have the ability and the knack to do something that I've always done in business, which is put people first. And you kind of take care of people, and then the money will follow. That's always been a philosophy that I've always had in business. And I see that with you. And I thank you for that.
Yeah, I think in life, I think that's a generally good strategy, because
agreed.
You make good relationship. You treat people right, and everything else kind of falls into place. So yeah,
exactly.
Does anybody on the panel have? I did receive a message from Mike. He'll be here shortly. Did anybody have any questions or anything like that for Nick that you've seen that maybe people have reached out to you or anything like that? Nick has answered. I seriously think. Nick, have you kept a tally? Maybe 1,000, maybe 2,000. I don't know. Good Lord! And
seems like he's constantly typing.
Nick, I wanted to address this, and wanted to say that I have you gained an enormous amount of respect from me and a lot of people last night when we ended the Mellofellow Cryptos live, and we had discussed about setting this up and having Brewedfi and all that, and you went over there and you joined the Discord and you answered a ton of questions, and you stayed there quite a while, and I thought it was pretty awesome, and I got a whole lot of feedback from people saying that was mad respect for Nik for doing that. And a couple of them were pretty harsh, just like, but you laid down the law, and then you had several of them like Bob and people came in and said, hey guys, tone it down and treat him with respect and ask your questions. And, I have a lot of respect for that. That was great. You did a really good job.
Thank you.
You guys got any questions or anything like that? Are you guys reading stuff?
I keep seeing stuff. I keep getting questions as well. A lot of people. I know you put the worksheet out for the nodes and light nodes, which are now called backers, and I would ask everybody to go and check out that worksheet, and then come back with questions, because just asking Nik to repetitively, can you go over the node revenue? Can you go over that? It's pretty monotonous for the guy. So, I mean, if he wants to get into that, he can, but I would implore everybody to at least go check out the worksheet that he spent a lot of time on, that he developed just for full node and backers, which were the light nodes. Go ahead and check that worksheet out, and then come back if you have any questions about earnings and how it works.
Good. Well said.
With that being said, the first question is, that's a joke.
Your mic is still low, Tony.
It is. I turned it all the way back up.
Yeah, I put it all the way max.
Can you guys hear me now?
I think it's the distance. Every once in a while, it sounds really great and everything like that.
Oh,
but
am I good now? You guys hear me just fine?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Hear you good.
All right. Cool.
We have. Okay. I think that's what Mike's issue. Mike's issue is that he has a mic issue. That's like, how am I going to say?
Sounds like
that?
It's a personal problem.
Right.
Yeah, he just joined, and then I guess he popped off. So we'll probably have to double check with him. That's what he told me in the chat. But
here's a comment. If it's okay if I bring one up.
Yeah, definitely.
Invest in yourself says, if light node has no purpose, if light nodes have no purpose for the blockchain, how about just compensate them the light node with more vol or a coin to pay them back and leave full node at 100%?
I think that's a fine idea. I think the issue there is the expectation that was set about a perpetual income. And so I didn't make those promises. However, I'm trying to keep everyone at least borderline happy.
Sure.
In terms of, honoring their commitment.
Some may not want their money back. Some may want some sort of perpetual revenue stream, right? Yeah, no, you're right. But thanks for at least saying, yeah, I mean, it's an option. It's on the table. I'm not saying it's not. Yeah. I guess as you begin to as this proposal once voted in, we move forward with proposal. I guess we'll revisit that. Cool.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things you can't make everybody happy, because light nodes are sold something, but we have to look at the landscape we're in now, and it's totally different.
Yeah, that's completely.
Yeah, and there are those that bought the light nodes on the aftermarket as well, and paid way more than what they were originally sold for. So those are the guys that I'm kind of
like. So what do you reimburse those guys? You
Correct.
Reimburse the market or aftermarket, right?
Correct. And then how do you prove, other than a blockchain transaction, of what you paid for it aftermarket, if that's even an option?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I have 5 light nodes, but I'm okay whichever we go. Blockchain's more important than my light nodes. That little bit of money, I mean, big screen. In the life of a blockchain, that money's not that much to recoup.
Yeah, and the Vulcan in the light node is worth more than you paid for it.
That sounds like a guy that's got like a lot of drip or something.
Like trillions.
Like trillion, just a little bit.
I've heard rumors.
What's up, Terry, man? I'm just joking.
No,
is Mike is Mike here?
Oh yeah, he is.
Oh, all right, there he is. Hey, what's up, Mike?
Hey, there we go. Can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah,
yes, sir.
Clear.
Yeah,
I'm gonna move Mike and Nik up to the top so they can everybody can see him and talk. Mike, how's it going, buddy?
It's all right.
I don't
Sorry
want to be
about
next
the
to this
technical
guy.
difficulties on my side. I moved over to my laptop here last minute, and all the security settings were set incorrectly.
Oh, well, you sound great. I mean, you guys all agree it's a good mic.
Yeah, he looks great too.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Your mic sounds like a mic.
Just like Frosty the Snowman.
Anonymous DeFi guy here.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's great. So, Mike, we got to talk a little bit about the goal and everything like that. and Nik was very he was very open to the idea of having a conversation with everybody in Brewfied, and he went in there last night, and like you and I were talking, we were checking it out and everything, and going in there to ask, to answer any kind of questions, or just to get to know the group and everything like that, and get their feedback. And what we wanted to do here was to give an opportunity that, typing it in and doing it through Discord, I mean, that's great, that's awesome, but you being a part of you being Brewfied, and there's tons of other things in Brewfied besides this issue, but Mike's pretty well known and has a good head on his shoulders, and this would be a great opportunity that if whatever you could bring to the table to Nik, and maybe we could bridge the gap between our frustrations between the communities, and come together and do what's best for the community, the blockchain, and everybody involved, and maybe just start having some peace and understanding between each other, and the whole notion of blocking people and all that just go away, So I don't know if you have a set of questions, Mike, or if you have it. What we're going through right now is we're starring some of the questions that are in the chat, and we'll be bringing them up. But I'm not sure if you're prepared with any kind of questions that maybe anybody reached out to you that Nik was maybe not able to answer, or what kind of, maybe give us an idea of where you stand.
I just wanted to have a general conversation. So appreciate you guys having me here. Nik, thanks for jumping in the community and taking a lot of questions, and things beyond questions. So I appreciate that. Those that aren't familiar with Brewedfi, it kind of got its start around safuu. From a number of community that were in that, but we've branched out into other projects. Ultimately, it's a community around, people that have been scammed in the space. There's just a ton of that going on. So, we talk about good projects. We talk about bad projects.
Mike, I think we're getting feedback.
Are you getting some feedback? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. It's gone now, but for a second, for a little bit there, I think it was coming from your mic. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's Fowler.
Is it you, Fowler?
He's muted.
Yeah, he's muted. Yeah.
All right.
It's not me.
So, obviously, historically, based around safuu and a lot of the things that were going on there, ultimately a community of people that have been banned for asking questions, labeled to be fudders. We've kind of taken on that persona as kind of a joke. But, ultimately people in community watching out for each other in the DeFi space is ultimately what we are. So, kind of history being around Brian Legend, I have a personal story that most of the people here in the audience know around how I was hacked in safuu by one of the safuu developers. It's been a little over a year now, losing $40,000+ to a safuu developer, which has kind of ultimately grew into me creating Brewedfi around dealing with scammers and what have you. So that, that's kind of where we're at. And, we've been tracking a lot of the shenanigans of Brian over, well over a year now.
That's a mild way to put it.
Yeah. I'm on the technical side. I'm not a guy that's into drama. I am an engineer by trade. I didn't ask to be hacked by safuu. It happened to be, that happened to be me. I had a large bag. It was 40,000+. So I'm kind of thankful it did happen to me, because it really opened my eyes into a lot of what was going on behind the scenes that I didn't really see before any of this happened. So, we've been trying to educate the community on what was going on for this time. It's a lot of it has come to a head recently with some of the projects, like ESCO and the things that Brian has been doing recently. So Nik, kind of, just what I wanted to ask of you, I think a lot of the community are still hurting from all of the shenanigans that have happened in the past. So just kind of hear from you, kind of how you got your origins in working with Brian, kind of how that all played out. I really do feel like there's a lot of, guilty by association going on for you, and a number, of other people on the team, maybe, wrongfully that, or maybe deserved in some scenarios. So, I thought it would be helpful if we kind of heard, how you became involved with him, what the timelines were on that, what you came on to do and what that looked like.
Absolutely. First of all, nice to meet you here, and also a fellow engineer. One of the things that I believe is that especially when you have something like a protocol or a technology platform product, it's good to have engineering sort of leadership. I see that most tech companies that have sort of core engineering, they don't have to be developers or anything like that, but have an engineering background as a lead, you tend to make slightly better decisions about the future of it. And I'm also from an open source background, so this is why embracing people and working with them is core to me. So in terms of your question, my interaction with Brian first happened because I was working on a project with ePlace, which is Adrian and Damien. So we were working on a project. It's actually live now. It's called Chains. It's the Australian Basketball League. It's called the NBL. They built essentially a clone of NBA Top Shot. So we worked on that together with them. So was working with them, and then they approached me and said that, hey, look, we have a marketing client of ours who is interested in having a blockchain built, and they've been having trouble finding the right team. And I said, that's, I know everything about cryptocurrency and oh, sorry about the background noise. The bell just rang. But I've been in crypto since mining Bitcoin, way early on, and CryptoKitty days and all of that kind of stuff. I also taught the Udacity. I authored the Udacity blockchain nano degree, pretty much. That even now, hundreds of thousands of developers learn Solidity through that. So I've felt fairly intrigued by the project because it's a technical challenge. Also at the time, I think I mentioned on the Discord there also, I had, prior to COVID, spent a fair bit of time at Harmony House here, which is the Harmony protocol. I got to know those folks and got really intrigued by all the decisions and things that we were making at a protocol level. But protocols have been too ambitious of a project for me. And also you got to have a reason, right? You got to have a reason. You can't just go and create a protocol. Anyway, so I was intrigued by that. I said, yeah, let's see what you got, etc. And they gave me some background on it and said that really what we're looking for is a proposal. So I looked at the requirements, and based upon, and the requirements at that time, right, were basically essentially create a Binance clone. That was essentially the requirements, with a few features thrown in there at the dApp level. So we gave a proposal based on that after consulting with, because I didn't have a protocol team in place. So we talked to a few offshore teams, etc., and found them. And based on that, I put together a quote, submitted the quote, had a couple of conversations, was asked some questions about the quote and about how to go about it. And really that was it, and then we got going. Our proposal was milestone based. So they, as a typical consulting proposal, you have an initial sort of retainer, then everything else is milestone driven, where if you deliver something, you get paid. Yeah, so that's pretty much what we were doing now, and we started executing along those lines. I'm really bad with dates, so I'll follow up on dates. I don't want to say a date and then be proven wrong about it. So
I'm assuming it was probably mid 2022 when a lot of the blockchain.
Yeah, it was about June, July that the blockchain went into talks.
Yeah,
in July. Yeah,
I can go look up stuff, etc. But I'm really bad with dates. So, but anyway, so there was that, and then we were going along. And meanwhile, I have another startup, Decentology. We are basically a dev tools company, and our basic business model is to work with primarily protocols and act as their sort of developer ecosystem builder, not primary, but secondary generally. And so we had a tool called DAppStarter where we would add the protocols on there. They would pay a fee for it. And then we would work on organizing, hackathons and things like that. And so they asked if I would want to do that for at that time, safuu. Yes, safuu SFX. Yeah. So they asked if I wanted to do that for it. I'm like, well, it's a protocol. It fits our business model. So happy to do that. So kind of gave them a plan on that. And we talked about executing on that right away. I felt like that would be a problem because there's no protocol in place. And the unique differentiator for that protocol is kind of rebasing. And all we had at that time was Hardhat. Hardhat is the emulator, basically, and the dev kit that Solidity developers use in order to build and test their code. So we said we can move forward with that, but it's going to be a tough sell. And hindsight 2020, turns out it was very tough. So we did a few workshops and things like that, but we also announced a hackathon, but we didn't get the kind of uptake that we really expected. And so we basically, backed up that and said we'll do a do-over of that once we actually have a test net and things like that. And so more recently, we restarted that process. But anyway, yeah. So that's the nut of it. And since then, basically, I show up on the meetings where there's a technical segment. So I show up there, give an update on what's going on, and then drop off. And that's basically been it. There's really not a whole lot to it. There is a team Discord. There's a blockchain channel where we provide updates or ask questions or things like that. But one of the key things, and if you've ever been in consulting, clients like this where they'll come and tell you a requirement after the fact, like they change the requirements from the original proposal, but more importantly, they'll have broadcast that there's a feature that they're going to build to the world, and we are not even aware as a developers that feature has to be built or the feasibility of it. That happens so many times where we're like, how the heck are we going to implement this? And it's been really challenging.
Yeah, I deal with that every day. Scope creep is what it's called.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Nik, regarding that? You guys hear me just fine, hopefully. So what features did Brian and the team throw out after they had already solidified a contract with you that you're going to do this? They went in and said, hey, we're going to be bringing you guys this. What part of the blockchain did they announce before?
I don't know if you ever remember the SFX website where there was, hang on, I'll just bring up a doc here that I can read so I can give you, but there was a tax, there was, one second, I'm just going to read off a few of these things here. Yeah, there was a treasury implementation, and there was a bunch of tokenomics there, which wasn't that challenging. But basically, we were told to essentially fork. Oh, it was called SAP. That's the acronym I was looking for. I think it was safuu automation protocol. What was SAP? It was a combination of things. Oh yeah, there was an insurance fund, a fire pit, a treasury. What else was there? Yeah, I think those were the key things. So the insurance fund, etc. I think that's what it was called at one point. That's what we started off with, and then we also had on there. In the most recent update I did, I gave the list of things, but basically a DEX, a bridge, Explorer, the like the equivalent of Etherscan or Binance Scan, etc. So a trace tool, and a white paper also. So we had to come up with actually a light paper. So we did that also. So yeah, that was basically the scope of it. In the process, during those initial discussions, we had to also come up with the architecture around the light nodes. So they had a price point, and they needed to understand how that would work. And so what we basically did was the logical thing there, where on Binance, there's 21 nodes that are sort of elected. We said, well, the light nodes can serve the purpose of being of holding an election and determining which nodes, which validators go on next. And so that was kind of the protocol architecture sort of concept we were working toward. And then, our biggest challenge was implementing the rebasing in the protocol. That was by far the highest risk item. And there, our contract basically stipulated that we are going to take what's in the safuu contract, which was basically an ERC20 contract with modifications in it, and implement that at the protocol level. Well, it turns out that after doing a little bit of digging, it turns out that that contract and many other rebasing contracts, I might add, all originated from one original contract from Ohm that uses this approach called frags, where basically, I don't want to bore everyone with technical details, but essentially what you do is you have one number as a balance in your user's account, and you have a multiplier, another multiplier that compounds over time, and that's what you use to dynamically compute what the user's true balance is, the rebase balance, if you will. Now, the thing is that it turned out to be fine in Solidity, but it was disastrous in Go. It didn't work very well because of the large integers and the exponents involved. Our performance tests, were terrible. So we had to go back to the drawing board, and I can go into much detail on that, but long story short, we decided to scrap that approach and tried 3 different approaches and ended up with one that actually really worked and was performant, and we could actually deterministically prove the data in Solidity, in Go, in JavaScript, and in Google Sheets. So all the data matched up, and so we felt like that was a good approach to take, and that's what we ended up implementing, and that's what's running in testnet right now. And I think if you haven't actually dived into the Go code and modified it, etc., it's and this is true of just about any technical hindsight. It's like, oh yeah, I could have done that in my sleep. Is a typical thing you'll hear a developer say, but it's getting to that point, right, where you discover like what is going to work, etc. That's important. And one of the things that we were very sort of curious about and slightly concerned about is, okay, fine, the protocol returns rebase numbers, but what about the RPC clients? Will MetaMask update, or will they have to refresh, quit, do some crazy gymnastics around that? Will Trust Wallet, will Rainbow Wallet do all that? And so that was a big unknown for us. So we spent some time testing that also, and turns out that those clients were basically did keep an eye on the balance and did update, although there was a lag for it, but that lag was acceptable. So anyway, so most of what we did, most of the engineering work around here was just getting through all those hoops. And then let's not also forget that there is a whole DevOps component to this that is easy to gloss over. But we are standing up a protocol, which means we have to do a DevNet, a testnet, and keep those up to date as we are doing these things. and also we had to write the scripts for onboarding the validators. We had no idea. We were never told that the validator ecosystem we are dealing with is basically a novice one. They are not proficient DevOps people. So it was quite an awakening for us to know that we had to do a whole bunch of handholding on that. So writing the scripts for that and getting to a point where, like ordinarily you would say, here's a Docker image, just go do it, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
But we weren't able to do that also, because even that was a bar too high. So I'm probably forgetting a whole bunch of things, but that in a nutshell is the story that brings us to here today. That essentially getting to that testnet was quite a big achievement. I felt from a technology and standpoint, because given vague requirements, giving shifting requirements, and all that, we were still able to achieve that. And so, yeah, that's it.
Good. I appreciate that. I mean, that's a lot more than I asked for, but man, that's
I have a question.
You didn't ask it to be, but no, that it makes sense though. Thank you so much. And I can understand that I'm not an engineer. I'm a systems engineer, but you guys are obviously you're a developer. I design infrastructure, that's what I do. So, but I do know that you get hired for a job, and it's like you deliver a scope of work and you agree on a price, and then you show up and you're like, oh, by the way, we want to add these things. So I can understand where you're coming from in that regard. But it's very interesting where we're at now. Because basically everything they threw out, hey, we're going to do all these things. You're like, no, we're not. So I'm glad we're starting with the clean slate here. And with the sentiment that I've seen, we talk about sentiment and consensus, these types of things. I mean, two different things, obviously, but I think that we just want the chance. We just give us something that we can build off of, and let us as a community go out there and push the hell out of it, right? And do and give that old college try, I think. So I think we're getting closer to that. All right. Thank you.
There's a question here. This came from off the chat, so that I put it in the banner style so we could get it. The question is why Brian said the blockchain to cost 6.2 million when Nik himself said it costs less than $1 million. And I think the question is to elaborate on that.
Yeah. So the first part, you'll have to ask Brian why he said what he said. I can't speak for him, but what I have done is in the FAQ that Jason posted, what was it, 4 days ago now? I gave a detailed breakdown of all the costs and all of it. It's all out there already in the PDF. So please do look at that. And it's definitely not that amount.
Yeah, I can say why Brian did that.
I think we can all, surmise why that large number was put out there. Yeah,
house, what?
Exactly. Nik, I have a question for you as well. You said that you kind of put together. What's that?
Hold on 1 second.
Go ahead, man.
Housekeeping. If anybody shows up down there, just let me bring them on.
Got it.
Okay, you'll understand later on. But if anybody shows up other than us that are here, I'll bring them on or take them off. Okay.
Sounds
you
good.
Got it, Captain. So Nik, I did have a question. You said you worked on the whole node structure with the light nodes. Originally, I remember it was only supposed to be 300 full nodes, and then it was changed to 500. Was that something that you and your team implemented, or was that something that came from the Brian side of things?
Yeah, that was an easy one. We were asked, like, what will the architecture support? So I said, well, it's supposed to be a decentralized blockchain. The more nodes, the more secure it is. So said, what kind of numbers can we support? So we gave some numbers, and that was it. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Mike, I know that you had began to speak about your story. Did you get through all of it? Because I remember there was more to the story as to how everything worked and how everything worked out and everything like that. Did you go through all of it? And are you done with that story? And now, do you have any other questions or anything like that for right now?
Yeah, I didn't necessarily want to rehash my hack unless anyone is interested.
Well, I think it's important, Mike. I think it's important because of the fact that it was, me personally, my opinion, when I heard the story the first time, I was pretty shocked, and I was a little bit aggravated by the fact that it was, we live in a world where the customer's always right, things like that, okay, but you can't do everything. But the way that they drug their feet and all that, and I've seen some comments, and I have concerns as to. I would like to know more about your story, and if Nik could shed light on the fact that is this developer or this what comes of your story, is that person still associated somewhere, or how did that get resolved? Because I mean, that would be a very big concern in the open community, just outside of us. If we have new investors coming in, and that story, it's not like you're going out telling that, but there might be people that have that, and if Nik is aware of it, can nix it right away and get rid of it and correct it. So
yeah. Well, it's certainly, it's a story that I've repeated a number of times just because it's pretty typical of kind of the state of DeFi, I think. Mm-hmm. So I got into safuu on the pink sale. I had been in crypto for maybe a year or two before, so certainly not, super experienced in the field, but knew what I was doing, knew how to stay safe, all those kind of things. So it was back in June now, so a little over a year ago, using the safuu website, the safuu DApp, to swap safuu with BNB. So I think I was selling off one safuu to raise a little bit of BNB for some gas fees. And as I was selling one safuu, I went to approve my transaction as normal. And then as soon as I realized what had happened, my entire holdings of safuu was moved out of my wallet, upwards of $40,000 to $45,000 worth of safuu, after approving the transaction. Initially thought, okay, my wallet must have been compromised in some way. Went off, reported it in the safuu channels. Everyone said, scammers are plentiful. And the assumption basically was that I attached to a website that was fraudulent somewhere else and, gave some bad approvals somewhere. But that didn't sit right with me. So, seeing 45,000 just get drained from your wallet right in front of your face, it was a pretty hard pill to swallow. Definitely thought about just turning my computer off and walking away and never coming back into DeFi. But I had to figure out, what happened. So I went through all the normal stuff as to how hacks can happen. Did I attach to a fraudulent website? All the things on my side. Did I have a virus on my computer? I wiped all my computers. I reset all my wallets, and I didn't sleep probably for the next 2 days. Couldn't find anything, found nothing. So I eventually got to the point where I was debugging the safuu contract to see if it was something there that did it. And then I eventually got to the point where I couldn't find anything there. So maybe I was thinking it was on the safuu server where the DApp was. So I'm like, maybe there's a virus back there. And what I ended up doing was downloading the source code to the safuu swap DApp and debugging it on my own computer. And within the safuu swap DApp, I found, code that was skimming whale wallets of safuu holders. And I actually found 5 other people on top of myself that the exact same thing happened to, and the money ended up in the same scammer wallet. In that wallet, in the code to randomly skim people was in the code. And it was random too. It was based on a time from, some kind of, a date time from 1970. So I think a developer was going in there and changing this date time. And then if you had more than 300 safuu in your wallet, it would latch on to the transaction that you were doing, throw up like as if you were selling your entire wallet. And if you approve it, thinking it's your own transaction, which is exactly what happened to me. I thought it was my own transaction. So I approved it and it sold off, 100% of my holdings. So I found it 2 days later after my hack, was ecstatic that I found this. I thought maybe there was some kind of test code in there or something. I was going to go into Discord. I was going to report this to Brian, to the admins. He was going to be like, happy to find what I found. But, lo and behold, what I found out was, anything beyond that, beyond my expectations with how it was handled, was really bad in many ways. So, basically they took the swap app down for like a couple of weeks while the fraudulent code was removed. Brian acknowledged that it happened. I thought I'd probably get refunded in like 5, 6, 7 days, Brian be saying, hey, thank you for finding that because, hey, it was scamming his community. But that wasn't the case. So, ultimately what it ended up happening was that he drug it out months, promising to refund. The refunds never came. Part of being in safuu was around the rebasing, so obviously, missing 2 months of rebases. Yes, I know rebases suck and it's a gimmick. But it was still monetarily, a double, triple of my holdings that I was sitting there, helpless on, where Brian wasn't helping. He was ignoring us. I actually found, 4 of the other people that were scammed because they also went into safuu and, reported the same thing. I was able to look at the blockchain transactions and figure out these holders and who they were in safuu. So we're talking, it was like, at the end of it, for the 6 of us, it was near $250,000 that were scammed.
So Mike, we know you were told it was a dev, but that particular wallet, was it ever linked to one individual? And I think you know who I'm talking about.
I'm glad you
yeah, no, I could never link it to that individual, Brian. So, they never told me who it was. I got insider information that it was a dev, whoever the dev was that created the safuu swap DApp. So, but to have a guy, where his community probably lost about $250K sitting on it, ignoring us, really at the mercy, in the end, I had to threaten to sue. And he banned me from the Discord. And then I think finally, and, someone reached out in the community to Plan B, and Plan B actually got it done. So, it was 2 months of this limbo where, 6 of us had $250,000 that were stolen by no fault of our own. There was nothing we could have done to avoid, kind of what happened. Never use these random dApps to trade. Always use legitimate sites. That's just
Mike. I have a clarifying question. I understand the first part where they essentially changed the balance you intended to swap to the whole balance, but I'm trying to understand what happened at the other end of it. How were the funds? Were they just a straight transfer to the dev, not actually doing the swap or anything like that? Is that a dev wallet? Is that what was going on?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a swap of 100% of your wallet holdings and then sent to a specific constant that was a dev wallet.
Cool.
A string.
And in your when you looked at it, just out of curiosity, was it a pancake swap fork or was it a Uniswap fork?
I have it all still.
Okay, just if you remember,
I think it was like pancakes. Well, it was using pancake swap behind the scenes, so it was just it was a pretty dumb swap app. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Thank you.
So ultimately, we did get refunded thanks to Plan B. It was 2 months later, so a lot of time, a lot of effort put into making it happen. Obviously, had I been able to hold on to it all that time, we weren't given that luxury. Our wallets would have been 2-3 times the size. But nonetheless, we did get refunded our original plus a 10% apology bonus. And that was it. And then I got banned. And then that's when Brood started.
That's what started it all.
So, that's kind of that kind of goes into Nik, obviously I think this is before your time, before you were involved with Brian. This was, August of 2022. Whatever dev staff he had on at the time, I don't think it's related to you.
Yeah, we have no one who ever worked with Brian before. My sort of director of engineering is in Dubai, and we work with offshore devs. So, yeah.
Nik, I did hear. I think I heard it in Discord. If it's too much of a personal question, no worries. But I think you put it out there, so I think it was in Discord and Vulcan that one of your senior devs actually walked out because of an interaction. Yes. Yeah. If you don't mind, kind of like obviously poorly, and the reason I bring that up is because that's not the first story that I've heard of Brian Legend treating his employees, his colleagues, people like that. So have you had any personal experience with him like that? Did he ever raise his voice at you or gave you some ultimatums? Because he seems like the guy that obviously has no problem doing that. So,
yeah, I think that's par for the course with him. He'll get mad, say things, etc., and then follow up later with an email apology or something like that because he realizes that he can't ruffle everyone's feathers. Yeah. So in this scenario here, basically, the first DApp for sacrifice, basically we were given very short amount of time and said you gotta basically build this, and we dropped a lot of things and got on that. It involved a fairly complex set of interactions because you've got Ethereum, you've got Binance, you've got Bitcoin, all of those things. On Bitcoin, there's not even any smart contracts, etc. So you have to be able to essentially, I'll use the word cache loosely, the transaction while it's being finalized and all that. Long story short, it turned out to be a fairly complex thing. And when we launched it, there were some problems initially. That's what happens when you have no time to test, or when you go, you've seen the meme, I only test in production or something like that. We were forced to do that. No, we
test when we go live.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but he said some really horrible things to John, and my dad at that time was dealing with a death of his best friend, and he wasn't exactly in the right state of mind, and that pushed him over the edge. Basically, sure. He's like, I'm out, So I don't know.
That's all he did.
Sorry,
I said it's a shame that's all he did.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, when you work with someone for what was it, almost 8 years or something like that, and we work on one last minute, and honestly, that project turned out to be a huge loss for us because we were supposed to get a portion of a small percentage of the ETH and the non-safuu sacrifices. Mm-hmm. Turned out they were not very large, so
there's a lot we found out about those. But yeah.
We ate a lot. We basically bore the cost of creating that app. So that was it.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Because as you seem like a man that's more about relationships than anything else, right? Your reputation, and you develop a reputation through relationships and managing those in and outside your circle of influence, right? So I'm happy to hear that was it Mike? What's his name?
John.
John. Yeah, he walked away. Obviously, he did the right thing. Obviously, but I'm glad. Hopefully, your relationship with him hasn't been tainted by that, because it can. A deal can make or break. It could test a relationship. Professional relationship. It really can. Because at the end of the day, if the expectations aren't leveled, or if they're it could be dangerous for the relationship. So I'm happy to hear that, for sure. I have a question that I want to ask.
Wait on that question. I apologize. I jumped the gun.
Good.
That was my bad. If you can bring up a starred one of the first ones that we have. Wait for that one for just a few minutes.
Bring up the star one, one of the first ones.
Go in the starred chat, and I started starting them a long time ago.
I got you. Oh, okay. You want to go to the top?
I think so. It's been a while. So.
Okay. All right. So here's the first question. Actually, the first thing is the Brew Discord, guys. If you are watching this for the first time, you need to go check out this Discord. Here's the link. Thanks, Bish, for throwing that up there. And it's super. I don't think people realize, and I'm sure you do, that the fact that we have Mike from Brewedfi up here, who actually has a real life situation story that's led him, that actually helped start up the brew. And then we've got Nik Kalyani here, who is coming in going, man, what? I'm sure you're like, I'm glad you're here, because we finally get to talk about this stuff. Thanks, Bish, for throwing it up. So we're going to throw up the first question that we have. This is from Day 5. What's up, Dave? And he says, I'm assuming this is to Nik, right? So do you plan on having transactions in the financial tracking channel tied to actual invoices, receipts with traceable wallets?
Absolutely. Yeah. So here's where we are headed. I am not in charge yet. I am just still a contractor who floated a proposal in the community. That's my status. I don't have access to the multi-sig, etc. But in the team, I'm kind of like an interim leader, So my goal is, as expediently as possible, transition to a DAO, put financial controls in place, put councils in place, put members of the community who are willing to volunteer, just like a typical DAO. I mean, this is not rocket science here, and have multi-sigs, etc. One of the things I talked about in my proposal is this NFT, right? This NFT is a 3-part NFT. It's got your vesting schedule in it. It's got your incentive aspects in it. But the third thing is it has your governance component to it. So based upon your tier, so the validators are the highest tier, and then come the backers, then the sacrificers, and also the team, any staffers. So you all have weights, and those weights. One more thing, you can delegate your vote, your governance to other people, because there's no need to have everyone participate. So you can just say that I delegate everything to Kryptonian, and that's it. So Kryptonian speaks for me. So we have
that's what I'm gonna do.
No,
that's what he wants. That's what he wants.
Thanks, Nik, for throwing
that. You like that too much.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I like the idea of delegation. That's actually cool.
Yeah, I think that's important, because a lot of people are not in this to be in here 24/7 and be looking at what's happening, etc. They want to go about their lives, right? This is like, okay, I put some money.
They don't all live it like I did.
Yeah. Living la vida loca.
So it says it's unorthodox. It's not. I don't find it unorthodox at all. Like, you look at any open source project, you look at any DAO, etc. This is par for the course. This is just standard stuff. Like, everything, barring a few tiny things that are personnel privacy related, should be public. There should be public drive. All the documents are there.
Agreed.
Everything's there. Like,
I'm glad you said that.
Thank you for that.
Because we heard from somebody else, like, he gave every excuse not to make.
Yeah, it's for. I'm doing this to protect you. This is why you can't. No, I can't protect you. But,
you don't want to like, if there are certain people who are doing good work, etc., but for their privacy reasons, they don't want to be doxxed. Like, there's multiple reasons why people could be doxxed. Like, women in particular, they don't want to be doxxed because they are subject to a lot of harassment and things like that, etc. So you want to be mindful of that. But other than that, all the business aspects of it should be all public.
Agreed.
And so I have no. So what I'm committing to essentially is incorporate the DAO, and we don't actually need the formal DAO incorporated to start putting all this into place. I've already sort of started making sort of a model of what the councils will be and things like that. But I gotta step by step. There's a whole lot of other things that need to happen first. Sure. But getting this DAO structure in place, and we talked about people and all that. One of the reasons, if you will, that I'm doing these AMAs, etc., is not just so I can be transparent and tell the community, but in these questions, I'm recognizing handles now. I'm recognizing people, and I can connect who is, asking questions in what area, etc., and developing starting relationships. Obviously, with a lot of you now, I'm very familiar with you, right? So that, to me, the people who are speaking up right now are leadership material. They are the ones who belong on those councils, who are stepping up right now. So I would want to invite them and say that, hey, this council is going to have 5 people, 5 seats. How about you take one of them? Would you be interested, etc.? So we need to do that. We need to get out of this model of command and control, enterprise manager, other such BS. We need to do it the DAO way.
Good. I
Good
appreciate that. Next question from Ted is from Tad Hayes. It's a question for Nick. If the 2 sexes get set up before the boosters are released, we'll be able to claim the rebases. And then, of course, without the booster cells, will there be enough liquidity for people to claim?
So I want to go to my roadmap because on there I have kind of orchestrated it so the sex happens. I hate to say it that way, but the CEX.
I had hesitation as well. Greek's all over it, but I don't like to say it.
It's Greek's favorite word.
Yeah. Every time I said sex,
it's like sex, boom. Those 2 words, man, it's weird.
Yeah, we got to be careful. This will devolve really quickly.
Yeah, so we have mainnet RC2.
I have water.
The trigger of it is we get to $1 million in booster sales. Now, we'll know pretty quickly if we can hit that cadence, right? It's not going to be rocket science. We'll know, we're going to hit that cadence or we're not. If we're not going to hit the cadence, we need to alter the plan. But the basic plan is we get that liquidity capital in place and then activate the CEXs. One of the unknowns right now is how the CEXs will handle the rebasing, because we talked about this a couple nights ago also. Exactly. Is they have a choice, right? Like once you deposit money into a CEX, it's essentially a database. You're off the blockchain at that point. And so the rebasing, etc., goes to the holder, which is the CEX. So what do? Are they going to be generous and actually hand it back to the users? I don't know. We'll have to. So that is one thing that I want to make sure that is crystal clear when whatever deal we make with a CEX, and you all will be party to it because you will see sort of what we are talking about, etc., and we'll get your input also.
Good. I like that answer.
Like that.
Hopefully that answered your question, Tad. I think he gave a lot of information on that one. Here's another one from Jaco, and it says something about the vote. I tried to vote this morning using the Trust Wallet, and it was unsuccessful. I also saw other people who had issues as well. Are there any issues with that? Have you heard of any wide scale issues? You guys
not really. I mean, we are just using Wallet Connect there, right? And so it's like we didn't invent our own authentication or connection like that. So my guess is that it might be a mobile related issue because I've seen some of that. Look.
Could it be Trust Wallet defaults to Ethereum and you have to make sure you're Binance when you're connecting?
Yeah. The thing is, you're not really actually transacting on any chain. Okay. You're just signing a transaction. So it really it's immaterial. So if you find some chain that works, go for it because there's no on-chain transaction. We are capturing the signature and sticking it into a database. So here's the thing, right? Cool. We put this together in Rapid. This is one of those things where it's being tested in production. Unfortunately, we tested a little bit of it last night. It seemed to work with a few wallets, but I would try. I've been telling people, like, if you have trouble, try it in the Chrome desktop browser. It seems to have addressed a lot of issues. But with Trust Wallet, you would have to scan the QR code, I guess. I tried it. It had worked for me, so I'm not sure. I would need to know more details in order to troubleshoot it.
Yeah.
It's kind of
worked great for me, except for my Node wallets. It's not picking up the Node.
Yeah, that is because
What
they're
you
not
said.
in the list there, and I'm gonna try and get those in there. Yeah. So we made a call. We are like, okay, this is working now for what would be ostensibly 18,000 plus. There's going to be a few people who are going to feel disenfranchised, and I was told that, well, most of the node owners are also in the sacrifice, so they're covered anyway. So I'm like, okay, that's a reasonable thing. So we might have a handful of people who might not be able to vote. I'm willing to go forward with that in order to get this going. So, but I'm going to try and get that node list also in there.
Okay. I think we've already covered this one briefly. It was something of, I think you didn't, this is on the table. It's not off the table. I mean, we're going to look at that. Hopefully that answers your question, Sonny. But we did cover this at the beginning, probably one of the first comments that we brought up. This was actually asked. So thanks for asking again, Sonny. Chevy says, could we use the light nodes as our Geek Squad for the full nodes and provide value for the reoccurring income for the Geek Squad, or as our Geek Squad?
Well, that presumes that light nodes are technically proficient.
Yeah. That would assume that, right? Yeah. Or prison, right?
Yeah. Here's what I'm saying. I'll go back to the comment I made in the full node chat. Discuss this, have a great discussion, and come up with 3 ideas, 3 plans, 3 solid plans for what you want. And then let's get on a Zoom or something like that and just talk about them, and come up with what works for the people who are, let's just say, the sort of community leaders there,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Can you hold you can see the question. Can you hold a vote to only allow voting from only wallets holding the light node NFTs?
We could do that, but the question is, what is this vote about?
Yeah. I'm assuming are you talking about the proposal vote or maybe it's the vote
I
to
would
see
assume
if we can
the outcome of the light nodes, probably.
the outcome, the refunds or whatever.
I see.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Right.
So when we do decide something, that's a great idea. Yes.
Yeah, good question. Good question, King.
So just one of the things that I want to do as part of these AMAs, etc., also is to technically educate the community, because I feel a well-educated community is a good community. So what we are talking there is called token gating. So anytime you use a token that is being held by someone in their wallet to gain access to a particular resource, that's called a token gated access. So that's what this is about, and it's a great idea. I like it.
Cool.
Nice.
Just some compliments here. I have a huge amount of respect for Nik and all he is doing to make this work. I think we can all agree to that. I mean, we appreciate you being here. We've got a little intermission. What's up, Jenna?
I said I would say hi. All right, now I'm off the hook. I was filling her in on Nick's whole proposal from Thursday on the phone prior to
Yeah, she's been at it for a bit, rightly so. You did the right thing by stepping away. Trust me. I'm glad to see you back in the chats there. Roger has a question. If a validator is offline and not producing blocks, it does not get any share of the gas fees, correct? And they are not backers, not doing anything, potentially get a share of gas fees? Question mark. So
your logic makes perfect sense. Your argument makes perfect sense. But as I said earlier, I'm just trying to honor an agreement that was made, and in that vein, I propose a solution. And it may not be the best solution. Hence, let's discuss and come up with one that works. But that is solid logic right there. So
there it is, logic, common sense approach. Another someone from the community, Nick, saying thank you. They really appreciate what you're doing. You got to understand, Nick. I mean, we're going to throw these up there because this is what we've been waiting for as a community, to talk to the team, the guys that are spearheading this thing. So we appreciate you.
And have them be open and honest about things.
Yeah.
And
tell us it's not going to work. Yeah.
Right.
Tell me it's not going to work. Don't sell me it's going to work.
Don't sell me a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my default mode is always going to be like, look, guys, this is probably going to fail. I'm going to start off with that. But let's see what we can do to try and avoid that and make it a success. So
Kuro says, Nick, can you confirm that it's the same developer that Scan Mike is still part of the team or is not part of the team?
I don't even know who that developer is. And I will give you an insight that is probably going to blow your minds. We have a protocol here with 0 engineers on the staff. So there we go. Like
0.
This is changing now. I want to change it.
Right.
I want to have
which is
engineers.
why you talked about at the very beginning. It needs to be like the standard. It really does. I get it. If you're a visionary, you've never touched a keyboard in your life, but you need someone that knows what they're doing or has done. It's
you
funny.
can't have a protocol with no engineering resources. It's just not done. We are outsourced. I'm an outsourced hand,
Yeah.
So we need to have people on the staff who are available, who are accountable to the protocol, and not just a contract.
Yeah, I think we got sold that they just had this team of devs before they hired you, and then they told you, hey, we both fell for the same scam here, in a sense. He was telling you one thing, telling us the other. Loving it, and we got Superstar Mazda saying, "I'm loving the transparency. Let's keep the energy going." Absolutely. Anti BS. I guess we're talking about music. Oh, because the creator, talking about the creators here. Yeah. What's up, BS? Yep. You'll be listening to me about half an hour. So I definitely want to know what that's about. Are you a musician? Is that what he's saying? I'd like to hear some of your stuff, man. All right. Here we go. Another question from Roger, Austria. Maybe increase the incentive pool weight for the light nodes a little bit instead of the percent shares of the gas fees.
Yeah. So I've thought about that. And redistributing things in the cap table is certainly something you can do. I didn't want to do it today because I got this vote going on and I can't be changing, because then immediately people go, hey, conspiracy, you changed this document and I already voted for it, etc. So no, we won't have any of that. We'll get to the end of the vote and then we will make those changes as a community.
In the past, things changed okay 5 minutes after they were announced all the time. So
I was going to say we're kind of used to it. Yeah,
sure. Not going to happen.
Good.
You make a deal with someone, you honor the deal.
Yeah,
amazing
that's
right there.
That's something we're not used to there.
Yeah.
So, and before you read this one, Kryptonian, I have a quick question for Nick.
Nick,
after the vote, I know you talked about kind of expeditiously getting incorporated in Dubai. What does that timeline look like once this vote's over and we look to proceed?
Yeah, so let's first answer that question about why it's necessary to incorporate in Dubai. Right now, there is no legal entity, right? So having no legal entity is fraught with peril, and I use that word deliberately.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed. That's kind of why I'm asking. Exactly.
I don't want to have personal liability for everything that happens here. It's not the way you do business.
Right.
So I need to have an entity. And also, you can't enter into legal contracts without an entity. That's another important thing. So if I'm going to expect to have people, sign contracts in the community also, like when we did our open source sort of community groups, etc., everyone had to sign, because it was all developers, right? They had to sign a release for the code and all that kind of stuff. So at minimum, we need to have code of conduct agreements and things like that from people. You can't be on a council, for example, and just be berating women or something like that. We're not going to tolerate that, or be racist or something like that. We need to have those kind of agreements. But who are we going to have it with? Entity X? Well, if you are a bad actor, how do we enforce that? Well, no court of law is going to enforce it because there's no entity. So that's the reason for it. So the last time I incorporated, which was the first time I incorporated anything in Dubai, was Nifty Dreams DAO, my DAO. In parallel, I got my UAE residency because in order to have a certain class of entity there, you need one of the people to be on there. So now I have my UAE ID, so it can be much faster. Not everyone on there needs to be on there. So one of the way this will work, by the way, is with the way all DAOs work, is that you have sort of a proxy person who is the signatory on the corporate thing, but the first order of business is to delegate all rights to what will be the strategy council in the DAO. So we basically say that all I will be doing is forwarding the requests of the strategy council legally. That's all. And I think over time, as more people are willing to step up, etc., we could have more signatories on there also. But so it'll be quicker. I think it was 3 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. It might be a little quicker there, because I had to do like a medical checkup and this, like a green card when they do all that here in the US, the same kind of thing there. but I think it'll be a little faster. But in parallel, we have to get to mainnet. That's my priority. Like, I think that everyone in this community is going to breathe a huge sigh of relief, not when I have a DAO incorporated, but when we turn on mainnet release candidate 1.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Agreed.
So everything else there is kind of like a side track. We have this main track here where the mainnet comes with the NFT we talked about that gives you the holder rights and implements all these things we are talking about, the rights, etc. Right? Those need to go on. So that's and the rebrand. So there's some extreme high priority things that have to happen. So assuming I am voted in, what I will do is I'll take the weekend to kind of formulate an action plan, and then probably Monday get on and start executing on this and share at community forums. I think for the foreseeable future, you should expect more community forums than less, because there's a lot of decisions to be made. There's a lot of information to be communicated, and I'm going to actually rely on a lot of you with the YouTube channels, etc., to help disseminate that information. Because what I find is, like, if you just put something on Discord or whatever, you might get a few people, but not everybody. And also, one of the things is people fundamentally on the internet, this is just everybody don't read. People don't read. Okay, that's just the fact. So we got to be able to talk to them. We got to be able to do these videos and things like that, and get the information out. And even though we don't have a DAO or whatever, now that we've got like even this voting app kind of thing, I would like get into the habit of floating a proposal and doing informal votes also, and just getting a sentiment. What are people thinking, etc. So yeah, I'm sorry, I tend to ramble on some of these things.
No,
you're good. We love hearing you talk,
yeah.
and it's actually refreshing hearing what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Completely refreshing, especially
for
what we're used to.
I'm willing to go back. So
yeah,
yeah. So I will basically do what I, like the way you typically operate as a leader is you create a strategic plan at a very high level, 20,000 feet or whatever, and now you got to think tactics. Honestly, there's a lot of tactical questions people throw at me, and I'm like, I don't know, I haven't thought about that right now. My brain is at this level right now, but
Makes
now.
sense.
We get to this tactical level, and at a tactical level, that's where you need to do the leadership thing. And the leadership thing is identifying core people who can take things over and delegating to them, giving them the resources they need, and then getting out of their way. So that's an important thing. And I have not given a whole lot of thought about that whole final team, the roles, etc. So if you ask me today, right now, I'll give you some vague answers, and that's not to try and be evasive. I know what the community wants. Believe me, I've heard it like 10,000 times already. I know exactly what the community wants. I will act on things. On things, but I have to make smart decisions. See, you always have to think a few steps ahead. You can't just be making rash decisions and actions immediately. You got to be thinking ahead a little bit, and that's kind of what I want to do. So
yeah. So we got a question here. I have had this one up, but I've got one question that we've got from some gentlemen in the actual brew that I want to bring up. It's a 3-part question, but this one specifically says, first, from Zero Cool, do you plan on launching in September after, or I guess an investigation after the September launch on the old Brian team, or plan launching while still investigating? This is very important to our root out any bad actors. So
yeah. Do you know any company who announces personnel related decisions in public first before implementing them?
Yep.
That's my answer.
Yep. So and there it is. All right. So we're going to get to this 3-part question.
Wait 1 second. This is the reason why I was wanting to hold off on this question. We have someone that's going to be joining us right now, and are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Okay. Here we go. We have Bob. Bob has joined us.
What's going on,
Hello,
Bob?
there, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
What do you know?
Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
What's going on?
We finally meet.
Bob,
Right.
I think you were able to listen to a little bit of what was going on. Right now, we are. There's a question that's been. We've been kind of holding off. I wanted wanted us to talk about it, and I wanted to make sure that you were here if we had any kind of follow-ups or anything like that, or anything that you wanted to. But before we get to that question, is there anything that you want to talk about, or any questions that you had that you wanted to talk about right now, or you just want to get right into it?
I had fallen asleep, so I didn't really catch much of what was being said.
We're that interesting, huh, Bob?
Yeah. Well, no.
I didn't get any sleep last night.
I'm just
he's been working on some very important things. As you know.
we know. We know.
But he while we're up running around, or sleeping, he's working. So very relative to what you're doing there, Nick. He sleeps very rarely. But so this is a 3-part question, and it's part 1. This is why not make the blockchain proof of work and attract huge user base of miners ready to jump into the ecosystem. Second part of this is Ethereum had 8% of their volume inflated by miners using the rewards to buy back into other tokens from the ecosystem. Blockchains like Flux, both POW and POS, proof of work, proof of stake. The last part of the question is any new blockchain. This is not a question. This is a statement. Any new blockchain that accepts miners seems to instantly get some initial adoption. This could be an easy way to quick start Vulcan. There it is. What are your thoughts on that?
Sure. I mean, proof of work seems like going back, right? The rest of the world going away from it. What am I missing there?
That was it. That was just one big question and asked to a statement. It basically, the question is, I guess, have you considered, or why not go back to proof of work? And then he went into why, because there's a lot of miners out there that are ready to jump into this thing. And then there's been some he mentioned, and I'll bring this last part up, that there have been blockchains that accept these miners, seem to instantly get some initial adoption. So the goal is proof. I
was going to say really quick, Nick. The reason why is that initial wave is because there's so many miners that's ready to get off the oldest thing they've been mining. They're ready to go to something new because they want to be the first one in, which allows them to get the best chance of, reaping some type of rewards by mining.
Yep. So I've said this publicly, and I'll say it again. Here's the thing we'll do. As soon as we have the technology council of the DAO started up, we'll have a committee in there called the protocol committee, or we can give it some fancy name. And that's going to be a bunch of technical individuals, just like the people who are asking these questions, to make a recommendation, to do the research, figure out what the steps are, and create an action plan, poll the community, find out, what the risks are, how to mitigate those risks, create a plan, and then let's execute. I'm not married in any way to anything. If a team of technical experts within our community who are looking out for the best interests of our community and the future of this protocol are saying we do this, then let's get that plan. Let's vet that plan. Let's poke holes in it. Make sure it's bulletproof. Well, nothing can be 100% bulletproof, but make sure it's a solid plan. And then let's execute on it. I have no problem with it. Ethereum did it. We can do it too. I mean, we don't have hardly any nodes, right? We can easily switch over. So yeah, I'm on board with this strategy.
Right. Yeah, and he wanted me to add a last part that Flux has a hybrid proof of work and proof of stake. So, so we could have nodes plus miners. Something to consider. So, but I get what you're saying. It's it's going in a different direction.
One of the things you have to be aware of is that we've been super careful at the protocol level to not mess with any of the consensus code, etc. Everything is up basically at the transaction and at the EVM level, the state DB level, right? So that means we are free to swap out those things whenever we want to without any adverse impact on the protocol. What you're going to have to deal with is the business questions. That's more challenging, I think, around here's 500 node owners. They were committed. They were promised something. What happens when you make it proof of stake or proof of work or whatever? What's the transition like? Because there's money involved, right? And you got to plan that. So it's not just about technology. It's about the financial aspect of it also. But I'm on board.
Okay, good.
That's great to hear.
And I appreciate you, letting us ask that question. This is coming from, different, like you said, different walks of life that are, or different people with different technical backgrounds. You have some miners that are like, hey, I'm a miner. Why, this is what they want to. This is what they want to do. So I believe Shadow X is one of the guys that actually said that. He's a miner. He'd love to be able to mine off this chain. So I'm good. I'm happy to see those types of questions as well. The fact is we wouldn't even know that this is what the community was about had none of this stuff happened. So this is a good thing, guys. It's a very good thing. Did we lose Bob? Oh, there he is. What's up, Bob?
You're muted, Bob, if you were talking.
Hey, Bob, if you're there, man, thanks for joining. I know you're tired, buddy. But the community, everybody would love to hear from you right now, man. I appreciate you being here, bud. And if you got any questions for Nik, we can hear you now.
All right. Okay, so why is it that you guys are holding on to proof of authority? Your plan is to launch Vulcan as a proof of authority chain, correct?
Yes.
So why aren't you guys making the switch now?
Because we don't know about the technical impact of that, the timeline impact of that.
I mean, at some point, the switch is going to have to take place. Like, if you do it, it's going to take place.
Right.
And so either way, you're going to have 500 validators who are all very inexperienced, never done this before, and they're going to have to do that upgrade. They're going to have to swap out that consensus, get things going, and learn right there on the fly. Why wouldn't you do this now? Get them on a test net for a couple months, let them get some experience practice, and then throw them on there.
So I think I think everyone else can answer this. Everyone wants when mainnet, right? That's the thing. So if the whole community agrees that this is very important and we need to do that, we need to switch to that, and we should delay the launch for a quarter or whatever it is, we can expedite that, then I'm on board with that. But it seems like we are at a strategic inflection point here for this community, and the confidence boost is going to happen when we are mainnet live. And so if we don't do that right now, it's going to mean chaos. I don't even know what the impact is going to be, but it's going to be significantly adverse. And so that's why I'm advocating that immediately we put a protocol sort of advisory committee into place. We make a plan, and we transition to that as quickly as possible after we go live.
I'm just not really understanding that plan, because because you're going to launch and then the chain's going to halt to make that swap out. So it's going to go down again just for that swap out.
It doesn't have to go down for a long period of time. We can plan to do it efficiently. But you realize do you agree with my initial point about it's really important for the community? That's what I'm hearing. What's everyone's telling me, to get to mainnet quickly, right? So
absolutely.
Do you think that we could in 30 days, right? Or less than 30 days now. Do you think I could have support from the community, from the technical folks in the community, to orchestrate this, keeping in mind that there's also a business aspect of it? We need to make sure that, the validators who weren't about proof of stake, we need to have that transition plan figured out also. So we have 30 days to do that. Can we do that?
I believe it can be done, yeah. Okay. I can't really speak for the rest of the people.
I'm prepared to hop on calls every day and hash this out and figure out technically how to make it happen. I mean, we are talking about, all the changes around rebasing, etc., are not at the consensus layer. So at that layer is just go Ethereum out of the box. So if, we are basically talking about going from one component to 3 components that people have to run. I'm already getting pushback on the cost of hosting and things like that. So those are some real issues we have to settle. But if we can come up with answers for that, I'm all for it. So let's already start a technical roundtable going and kind of discuss the action plan for this. I'm for that. And we can set up a meeting for tomorrow or tonight also. I mean, it's only 7:30 p.m. So should we do it? I'm all for it. Let's at least start the conversation.
Oh yeah,
How does that sound, Bob?
Good question, Bob.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah,
and thanks for the question, because that's really been. And Bob's right, Nick. Yeah, we want the chain to launch, but he's made some great points that, well, we're going to launch and then we're going to halt again. So is it for the sake of launching, or do we really want this thing to hit the road, get launched, and stay in the air, obviously to keep the momentum going? So I understand where Bob's coming from, and it makes sense, but
Yeah.
I also hear your point as well. It's
It's tough. You got a community that's like, let's launch, but then you got the technical guys are like, well, maybe let's get it.
Yeah, why are we going to double dip here?
Yeah, it's more than that, right? This is also about confidence and about bringing this really essentially fragmented and broken community to a large extent together. So I don't want a nice to have technology change to impede that. If we can have that nice to have technology change in the time frame, maybe a little bit more. Maybe I think people would be like, if they know what we're doing, give us the grace of a couple more weeks or something. But we got to launch. This is why I put this plan to get a phased mainnet out there. So yeah, we need to do that. So
I think even as is, there's going to be an issue because you want to launch on September 1st, correct?
By September 1st. That's what the commitment I have made. Yeah.
We're fairly close to that. And again, we're talking about 500 validators who've never done this before. This, even without the consensus switch, is going to be a huge issue.
So there's a phased rollout of that. I'm sorry to interrupt, but for mainnet release candidate 1, we are looking at just 4 validators. Then for the next release, we are looking at 10, and then 25, and then finally onboarding all of them. Okay. So,
and those 4 validators are going to be run by who?
Probably node gods.
So there'll be 2 node gods and two in-house, basically. Yeah.
And on top of that, it's a proof of authority.
Yep. It's release candidate 1. It's just getting going, so we got to start somewhere.
Ooh.
That didn't sound good.
Yeah, I personally would just delay it. I would absolutely not put out a chain like that myself, but that's just me.
Understood. But I think I think we'll have a revolt.
Yeah, I think Nick, Bob, I think Nick's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's got overwhelmingly majority of the community that's saying, again, when mainnet, we want to launch. We got screwed here. We want to. Yeah, we were promised things. Now we're all screwed, and we just want something. Then you have a small minority that's sitting here saying, "Well, Bob's got a point." So
he does have a point.
Yeah, Nick's stuck between a rock and a hard place. I mean,
yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, once our current vote is over, whether we're going to move forward with Nick's plan, which I'm about 150% positive that it's going to go through. I think there's no reason not to. Maybe after that, maybe Bob, you can come up with maybe a small document that has the reasons why you feel the delay should happen. Potentially, maybe we could have the community vote on it. Similar to what we're doing now. I mean, I'd be okay with that. I don't know how that would go. I think a lot of the community would still want to launch just to get it launched. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe maybe if you can put it in a way that they can understand and not be so technical, maybe they can see the light.
I mean, we can look at like the economical aspects of it, right?
Yeah.
So you put out a chain that's got 4 validators, and 2 of those are controlled by the Vulcan Foundation, whatever you want to call it. And then on top of that, it's a proof of authority chain. Then you want to bring in new investors. New investors are going to look at that and immediately say no.
Because it's too centralized?
Absolutely. It's a proof of authority chain, first of all. That's like a huge strike. For me, that alone just, it makes it a no. I don't care if it's the best tech. I don't care if there's 100 of the best developers there. That alone just makes it a no. Then on top of that, half half of the validators are then controlled by the same people who are the centralized.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that is incorrect, because at the point where we would be selling boosters, there would be 25 validators.
Okay, at that point, the validators.
So
it's right there on the roadmap slide. On the right-hand side, there's a column that says validators, and it tells you.
So at the point where you're bringing in new investors, Bob, he's saying there'd be 25 validators at that point. When new investors are coming in, there'd be 25 validators.
So by the time it's launched on mainnet, there's going to be at least 25 validators.
Release candidate 2, yes. Yeah. My roadmap slide basically has this clearly laid out. There's the when, how many validators, and what goes on. So I thought through this quite carefully and took those. It's 40, page 40.
Well, even with, I didn't really go all in depth with that document. I read a little bit of it.
Just look at page 40 and you'll see. It's to the end. Keep going down. Keep going.
I'm on 42. Do I have the wrong copy or?
No. It's page. It's number. It just keep going. Yeah.
Oh.
You're on the web version, right? Or are you on?
Yeah, there we go. That's it. Roadmap.
Yeah, roadmap. There it is.
Yeah.
There
So
we
if
go.
you can zoom into that, please, you can see that you start off with 4, because that's basically just really getting it live and getting the rebrand, initiating the audit, allowing token transfers, and then when we start mainnet RC2, that's 25 validators. That's when we want to start the booster sales, not anytime before that.
How long have you had a working testnet going?
At this point, probably 6 weeks, is it? Something like that, yeah.
How come you guys haven't been trying to get the people who are going to be running these on that testnet?
Simply because if you look at the audience we have, they're not people who want to mess around and do a lot of this multiple times. Also, we've been going through KYC process with them, and so that's been a little time consuming also.
All right. Yeah, it's just all of this is very odd to me. The way everything's been handled.
Okay. Well, you'll have to qualify then because.
Well, we could start with selling nodes to start off.
Yeah.
That right there is just
okay.
kind of odd.
All right. I understand. I thought you were talking about this plan here. You're talking about the whole thing.
Not specific. Yeah, I'm talking about how everything's been handled.
Yeah.
And then the plan to go in.
Yeah, that's how me and Bob started talking. He's like, "Why did you guys buy nodes?" And that's his first question ever to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I'm trying to make this work.
I hear you. It's not. When I say these things, it's not like I'm saying you, Nick. This is you. You've done that. You've decided to do it this way, and it's all you.
Yeah.
I understand most of this was Brian, and you've come into a shit situation, and you're trying to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am willing to explore. Like, if we can expedite this and keep the schedule more or less there. But I'm telling you, the business question is the one that is going to be the harder one to answer. I don't know the answer to that. I need to talk to a few people, node owners, and see how they feel and how we could swap things out for them.
Okay, because there's a lot of questions that I have regarding this. Like, again, going back to everybody, or most of the people are very inexperienced.
Yep.
So again, an investor looking at that sees a very inexperienced validator set. Some people have 5, 10, 12 nodes, right? So then on top of that, those very inexperienced people have a ton of validators, and they are set to secure millions of dollars on this chain. I mean, that's an exploiter's wet dream right there, is that you've got $1 million on a chain being secured by first-time validators who didn't do a testnet, no experience. Mainnet comes up, let's toss them on, or after the chain is launched, Okay, let's onboard them. I mean, you sort of follow my thought process on all this, like,
Yeah, I understand that.
How...
Yeah, it makes sense. Which is so we have to think about investors as a two-phase approach. Like we've got the booster sales right now, so those are not institutional investors. Those are primarily going to be individuals. The institutional investors will come a little later, and I think we can be switched over to a proof of stake and before we go to market on that. That might be.
And Nick, this is what you talked about with if the vote is yes and things that this is what you talked about with the DAO and having a 5 council. So something like this would be good. What's going on, guys?
No, I'm listening to you. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Go
no,
ahead.
no, you're correct about that. We would basically have a technology council, and within it, we would come up with a plan for this and then execute on it. And longer term, about institutional investors, they are going to come on board if we have clarity of vision. So there's a clear purpose for this. We have demonstrated some traction. So we've got a good community. We've got some great dApps on there that have got users on there. We've got some innovative technology in play, and perhaps a first mover advantage in some areas. So and of course a very good team. So the leadership in our DAO needs to be really good. So that attracts institutional investors. And I hear what Bob is saying in terms of ensuring that the protocol is truly decentralized and truly secure and as impervious as it can be to cartel attacks and Sybil attacks, all those kind of things. So yeah, we need to do that for sure.
Good.
Bringing in professional teams to validate the chain would also probably help on the investment side as well and on the security side. You reach out to like P2P Validator, Binary Holdings, various other teams like that. The same teams you see on all the chains, and you could just work out a deal with them. Sell them some tokens on whatever you want to call it, pre-sale. Yeah. Have them come on the chain. They're very experienced. You don't have to tell them what to do. Just toss them the binary. They're going to go run it. And they invest in every chain they're on. So
that's great. Yeah. So Bob, I'm going to ask you in public here, first and foremost, if you'd like to sort of be an advisor on the technology council to start off with, recruiting here.
Yeah.
All right, great. I'll follow up with you then.
Got my vote.
Yeah,
sounds good.
You get this started. Like one of the main jobs of any leader is to recruit great talent and then keep them, And so obviously you know what you're talking about, Bob. And so I want you on this team and help us out. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, Bob, why have you been hiding this from me?
You just would understand. Well, he's actually been saying this like for what 8 months now. I mean, Bob, but no one could ever get the question asked. So, but again, we're here today. We finally get it out and to hear Bob actually lay it out, and Nick, you see it, so it's good. And this is what we need. At the end of the day, I mean, Bob makes a damn good point. Millions of dollars on a network where validators haven't even hit testnet yet. I mean, think about that. It just makes no sense logically, right? I like where this is going.
So Bob, I'm going to follow up with you. We'll hop on a Zoom or something, and we'll hash this out, make a plan, and see what comes out of it, and then we'll let the community know. So expect me to follow up.
Cool. Sounds good.
So Bob, that's pretty exciting, huh? I know you're gonna get real excited and everything, but Bob, do you have other questions or anything like that? I know that you spent a lot of time talking with Nik and such in the Discord and everything like that. It seemed like you guys were having a great conversation going back and forth. And we're going to go back to quite a few of the questions that we have up here.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if there was something that you had a question that you had that you were thinking about, or anything else before we start off in just a general discussion with the audience.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about governance. So how will on-chain governance look like? Say I have a proposal. I'm whatever. I have something I'm going to offer, and I need $10,000. How would someone then make that proposal? Or if they want to make some sort of change with whatever, anyone, how would they be able to go about doing that on-chain?
Yeah.
Good question.
So first thing we need to do is to put our policies and procedures in place for the DAO. You know, how do we operate and all of that kind of stuff. So I'll put together a team that's going to fast track that. On Genesis, every one of the OGs is going to be dropped an NFT. That NFT has essentially the governance component to it also. So depending on what we end up using, I don't know how much on-chain governance Snapshot has, but if it doesn't, we can probably find a solution that does. But so we've got the token gating part of it in the NFT. So we've got who has what rights in the metadata of the NFT. So what we need to address is what is the process and what is the platform we're going to use. I don't believe there's any reason for us to grow our own. There's enough out there. We just need to identify the right one. And again, I'm going to find someone who's run a DAO or has run a DAO and hire them and put them in place to execute all this. So I have not run a DAO. I've run a DAO for artists, which is very different. Believe me, they are not at all crypto savvy. They want to do a Google form most of the time, So this is the exact opposite of it. We want to do things on chain. So we'll look at. I believe Snapshot is sort of the lead in that. So we'll start there. But so as part of implementing the DAO policies and procedures would be identifying the platform we would use, and then what are, for example, the things that would qualify for a vote. One thing would be financial decisions, right? And then those would be tiered. The higher the tier, the more of the vote you would want in there. But the lower the tier, the less, because you don't want, operational sort of funds that are used for payroll and things like that to be held up by a community vote. But so again, my answer to this is all going to be, we're going to create a DAO council and start putting people in there and start giving them this work to do. We got to bootstrap this organization. There's been nothing done. There is no formal structure to this organization. None. So we got to build that up.
I'm being smart when I say this. Will you then take the DAO back?
It's not like we haven't seen it before.
Experienced it, yeah.
Somebody.
Greek.
I didn't do nothing.
That's why it happened.
We know.
Yeah, when we talk about taking the DAO back, it really wasn't a true DAO if all the wallets that the DAO needs to function are controlled by the person who gave up and made it a DAO.
Yeah, but he wrote it in the Discord like in all caps, so it was real.
Yeah, Brian's like, here, you guys are a DAO. You guys are in control. Yeah, we're in control, but we control nothing. We have no wallet control. Brian controls all that. He gets all that. And then he says, here's your funds. And by the way, you have to have votes that last 14 days. That was set in place by the person who said he wanted to give up and make it a DAO.
It starts with a multi-sig. If you don't have a multi-sig, you got nothing.
Yeah, the DAO had a multi-sig when we took safuu over. But Brian controlled where all the taxes of safuu were going to all Brian's wallet.
A multi-sig controlled by multiple people, not with the same signatory.
But the DAO.
It's because he wrote it in all caps. He confused
that over. But we didn't control anything. Basically, we were just a figurehead. And then when Brian wanted to take over, we're like, we can't even fight him on this because how can you fight him? He has everything. We are just.
He would give you allotments of funds, correct?
Yeah,
he would send them to your multi-sig.
which made it very difficult to act, because if we did what the community wanted, we would have no funds for a month, and because we didn't control any of that stuff, Brian controlled it all. So it was like we had to like really, and then the 14-day vote really killed everything,
I kind of feel bad for Nik that you have to deal with all the BS.
Yeah,
honestly,
that's why.
Yeah, a lot of things that he's like stuck with these decisions, but a lot of them were put in place by Brian, and now if he changes things, it's very
he's just trying to do the best that he. I mean, it's pretty obvious you're trying to do the best that you can, Nik. Well, and we appreciate it.
Bob mentioned that earlier. He was like, Bob, the way that Bob's coming across with some of the questions, it seemed like it might have been a little aggressive or whatever, but it's the frustration of, he's not blaming Nik, but he's like, he was seeing all this craziness for the longest time. And then Nik comes in and is like, okay, I see this craziness too. Bob and Nik are pretty much on the same page, but Bob's still frustrated with it. But Nik's like, look, I think I got a plan here. And that's where it's like, if we can merge those two minds, I think as a community, wow,
sure,
we would all reap the benefits of it. But I wanted to ask Mike, he'd been quiet for a while. You got anything that you want to say? I mean, are we over talking you and you haven't had a chance to get in here?
Yeah, Mike, speak.
Yeah, I've been enjoying hearing Bob here. This is the first time for me, actually. So that's all good stuff.
Yeah, same here.
I think there's still a lot of bottled up frustrations, just all around. A lot of things that Brian had already put into motion that I think Nik is inheriting here. So definitely pros and cons. I like what I'm hearing around how he wants to tackle things. So I can appreciate that via committees and ultimately up to the community. It's their money, it's their technology. So
yeah. All right. Well, Bob, you got anything else real quick? Are you ready? We're going to jump into some questions. They seem to be piling up here.
Well, one more. Mike, when he said that, one just popped up in my mind. Regarding the source code, was there any contract between you and Brian in which, because you said you were contracted by Brian. So is there an agreement in which you were building for Brian, and so that source code would be his?
No.
Or did you license it in such a way that it stays with you, your Decentrology?
The contract says for safuu, which was the organization at the time. I didn't know there was no organization at the time, but it doesn't say.
I think we all didn't know that.
It doesn't say for Brian Legend. It says for safuu. But again, this is open source, and already, we had Go Ethereum is all open source, and the core rebasing code, etc. I believe it's already open source. So
I thought the repo was private. You guys had one, which was the HashPy one.
I'll make
that's
sure.
The only one I'd be able to see.
Yeah, I'll get that public within the next couple of days. The main thing is that there are a few developers in there who don't want to be doxxed, and because they work on multiple protocols. That's the only reason. There's no conspiracy or anything. And
I get it.
Yeah, so I just need to sanitize their names, and then boom, it'll be out there. So yeah, but yeah, I think it's no problem there.
I like it.
You want to bring up one of the questions? I think, well, unless Bob's got something else. I mean, every time we say something, Bob's like, I got a question.
I
got a question about Bob's PFP. What is that about?
I got punched in the face at a bar.
When you were like 5? That picture looks...
Bobo, why Bob Backlund? Are you a big wrestling fan?
During my presidential campaign, I got into a fight at a bar. Got sucker punched, and it hasn't gone away.
Yeah. That's the story you're sticking with?
He told me the same one months ago. I was like, okay. I won't ask
what time zone are you in?
Eastern.
Okay, cool.
But I usually work like really, 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 really late, like into like 3 a.m., 4 a.m.
Okay.
Oh, that's why you DM me super late.
Yeah, it's having to coordinate with people like across the world for.
Yeah, but I'm in the real time zone, Central.
That's not the real time zone. The Eastern Standard Time is the correct time, and everybody else is living to.
Well, Saturday I'll be in your neck of the woods.
Then you'll be like, the correct time. Oh, finally.
Oh, yeah.
Did you say that you really did have another question, Bob? Or was that?
I got a ton.
You asked about the source code.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? If you have tons of questions, I mean,
we've never had you on a live. Feel free.
I mean, we could get through your questions, and we can get to these other ones. Nick seems to go pretty good with these, and he's not like Kryptonian or I, where it takes half an hour to answer one question. Yeah, I'm digging it. Right. But Bob, if you have another question, just shoot away, buddy.
Well, I'm trying to think on how to word this one. So go on to the next question. Okay.
All right. So here's a question that we have, and this was a little bit ago, so maybe we'll still get through them though. But would the blockchain go through a full test net with all nodes connected to make sure all the kinks are sorted out before mainnet?
I'd love to do that, but I don't think this community will survive.
Yeah,
you could just launch another testnet chain, like right now. Just launch it, just for the purpose of bringing in whoever is a bit like ready to go, jump on that testnet, get them some experience, let them figure out the commands, how to maintain all that. I mean, I think that would help.
That's a reasonable. We do have 30 days. The only thing is we have to implement this transaction-based rebasing also. So that would mean two testnet releases. But yeah, I guess we could do that. So, okay. Why don't we, I'll take that as an action item to talk to the node gods, because those would be the likely candidates who we get on and get going. So, okay. Seems reasonable.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah. Right. Keep in mind that I don't have the keys yet. I'm just saying yes.
Right. If this is all tentative and planning into the future, yes.
Yeah.
Next question, Rob T. Mike seems very knowledgeable, and his hack story shows it how he figured it out. Would Nick consider bringing him on as a consultant? Rob T.
Yeah, like I think that what I want to do is just put out a call for everybody in the community. We'll say that here's basically the structure of the DAO. Here's the consoles we have, the seats we have. Here's the competency required for each. Please raise your hand if you would like to step up. What we'll need to do is figure out what that compensation structure would be like, because capital is not something we have a lot of. So it could be in the form of sort of lock tokens or something like that, or vesting tokens, so that as we get more liquidity, those will become available. But I think the people who are likely to step up are probably people who are not highly money-minded and would be okay with tokens. So, that's basically it. We'll put out a call for filling out roles within the DAO, and I would love to have Mike and Bob and others. Let's get a good team going and kick ass. So yes, 100%.
Okay, next question here. Shadow X. Nick, why not make it POW? I'm a crypto miner, have been for years. You would get a lot of miners. Did we talk about that?
We kind of mentioned that Shadow X is a miner.
Okay.
This was that 3-part question, and this would have been a follow-up, or maybe leading into those 3 questions.
Yeah, and I think we might have skipped over. I think Bob brought up quite a few the different questions that I had pinned, but I was not sure if we got to that one. So, let's see. This is at Mike. Mike, thanks for sharing your story. I'm sorry this happened to you and others. Aris Disla, I guess that he was talking about his story in there. I do pray that developer is gone. So
yeah, Ari said Mike helped him out a lot. They were in the scam channel in safuu days. So
And then another question towards Mike, I guess, is when he was telling his story. Mike, did you have your safuu tokens in Ledger?
I did, and I approved the transaction.
Yeah, at that point, Ledger's not helping you at all.
Yep. I thought it was my own transaction, and there you go. End of story.
Crypto Dev, I guess this is on your channel. So I said, can you ask Nik if Brian reached out to Nik regarding anything ever since he took over? Maybe just words of encouragement if he doesn't mind answering. But Nik technically hasn't taken over.
Yeah, I don't mind answering the question. So what I have right now in my WhatsApp is 2 unread messages from Brian. I'm not touching them yet. I don't know what they are. So I can see the first few words. What does it say?
I need help with Yomp.
It says, I need to know from you.
Oh, that sounds like he's trying.
Where's my cut?
I'll go ahead and share that right now. Share the screen.
Are you going to take care of me?
I'm just joking.
He's
Sonny
rocking
T,
up today wearing a Vulcan hoodie on his live.
Sonny T says, and I saw this, and I was a little scared. I was like, "That's our future back in that back seat." But Nik, how was your backseat driving today this afternoon?
It was amazing. My daughter is doing really well. She was supposed to do the highway today, but she asked the instructor if she could do a mock test today. And he said, sure. And she passed the test. So she's good.
Nice.
The morning day, are the top wallets able to vote? They are not able to vote.
Any wallets we've identified that are not quote unquote legit are off there. So they wouldn't be listed in there. But we didn't make any distinction about top or not. They turned out to be mostly the top, but those are not in there.
Biz Entertainment, Nik, we are in testnet now. Are there any community nodes active?
No, what we were supposed to do is the immediate next release of the testnet was supposed to be starting to activate that, but all of that's been put on pause when everything happened here.
All right. Dave, is there supposed to be a new Discord created, and are there any mods being put in place for Vulcan new brand?
Yeah. So one of the things I asked is to basically hit a reset on all the mods and essentially bring them back gradually. But so because some of them had payment arrangements and they were not paid, I think, for a long time, and there was some issues around that. I need to get to the bottom of it. But 100% new Discord, and then we'll basically look at each mod on an individual basis and bring them on, because there's also the question of allegiance and multi-team mods that unblock people. Block people, etc. That was the problem we were having. So I'm like, well, I don't know who to trust. Let's get rid of everybody from their privileges right now, and then we'll bring them back on. So there is going to be a new Discord, and there will be some of the old mods, because I do know a few that I've encountered and talked with, and they're great, and I want them. But there are some that are sus, and so we don't want to bring them back.
Okay. All right. And then this one here, I'm not sure if you're going to answer this or not, but Tad Hayes says, Nik, can you please comment on the current roles of Jason, Adrian, and Damien? They are very silent and I'm sure very busy, but what aspects of the protocol are they working on now?
All right. So Adrian's agency is Intention, and they are essentially doing all the marketing and all the community management. So when there's someone has to be off or blocked on Discord or whatever, that's Adrian's agency that's doing that. Damien was actually out with his family on vacation when all of this thing blew up. He's back now, and what he's doing is two things. One is keeping the exchange conversations alive, and then also looking at and exploring some of the legal options right now. Jason continues to do what he was doing. You can see that he does some of the payroll and things like that, some of those internal things. And to a large extent, at least in the early part, he was sort of the only communicator with Brian, and now that's done. and basically, communicating with the community. So I'm trying to sort of flesh out Jason's role right now but it's undecided at the moment. We are working on that.
Okay. Anybody got any of these questions or anything like that? And anybody that answers it, if you have follow-ups, just jump in before I go to read the next question.
I got a
follow-up
question
on that one.
I think you all do now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bob. Yeah.
Oh, you can go.
Oh, it was just a question. It's from the brew, and I'll bring it up. I copied and pasted it. But Nick, well, I didn't paste it right. But will you be willing to chat with CoffeeZilla about Brian? Of course, you know who CoffeeZilla is. I would imagine.
Yeah, I did a Zoom with him.
Oh, you did? Like relative to you've already met with him then?
Yeah, but I basically told him what I know about Brian is from my interactions as a contractor. Literally in our meetings, there was a segment where we came on, gave the technology update, and then off. That's it. So I don't know a whole lot.
Cool.
Did you not look into him before, like, you signed on? Like, when he approached you, did you go into his background? See, I mean, because he's got at least 10 years, 13 years of like doing this.
Yep. I did look into it, and I was a bit sort of wary about it, which is why if you notice, I was fairly arm's length, and my appearances were very limited in that regard. I was going on the fact that I trust Adrian and Damien. They've been working with them for a while, and so I'm like, okay, if you guys are willing to do it, I'll do it. But I kind of want to do it more sort of as a subcontractor, behind the scenes, more or less. And that's why it was not until we did the sort of developer engagement thing that I even appeared on video. I never did that before for that reason.
Was all this discussed in detail with them? Like, they knew that when he ran Tags Exchange, he was having people deposit, like, when they thought they were depositing into an exchange. Yeah. What ended up happening is they were depositing into his personal wallets.
Yeah, the extent of my research was Google. The extent of my research was Google, really.
So like Vitrova, Clever DeFi, Twilix, SEO token, Bluecoin, etc. All that was discussed between you and Adrian and them.
No, in fact, some of those terms I've never heard of until this moment.
Okay, fair enough.
I'd like to know if Adrian, if those guys knew, what extent did they know these things, right? Hopefully we'll get the answers to those questions.
Yeah, that's not a question for you, Nick. That was just more of just a statement, general statement.
Yeah,
I think the community I think we're excited about this vote and moving forward, and hopefully well, I shouldn't say hopefully. If it's a yes, then we start with the plan, and Nick starts working, hopefully with some people in the community. And in that meantime, I would really like to, and I don't know how you feel about it, Nick, but I'd really like to see if the Damien and Adrian would be willing to, come on some lives and just, speak their story and everything like that, and see, just be like you have been, completely transparent, and just bring light today, as to where everybody is, and the honesty, even if they did have some type of inclination that it'd be nice to have a discussion about it and make sure that that we keep it squeaky clean going forward.
Yeah, I'll mention it to them, but it's their decision.
Yeah, I would know that. I mean, if they were to talk to you, or if they wanted to reach out to any of us, I'm sure that we'd all be willing to sit down with them, make sure that they're not going to get ambushed or anything like that. But okay, so we did that one. Let's jump to the next question. Hey, Nick, the blockchain is changing with revised features. Features up until now have been silly and won't work, you said. Did you say to Brian that the old features won't work, or did you get ignored? And one of the things I wanted to notice is I do remember that for quite a while there, it seemed very quiet with what was in the chat. In the chat, there's a section that was for basically you guys, was it Decentology? Is that what it was? The name
yeah.
of it? But it was very quiet, and people were saying, "Hey, where's Nik at?" I remember us talking about it quite a bit.
Well, I mean, that was a different thing. That's because we tried the developer engagement. We did not get any, and so we retrenched, and we're like, okay, we'll have to wait until testnet and re-engage. So that was that. That was completely unrelated to anything else other than the fact that we couldn't get developers to engage. So as I mentioned a couple times, we heard about features after they had been sort of talked about on streams, etc. And so then we would basically have the task of figuring out how to implement it. And that's when the back and forth would happen about, well, this is not feasible, but we can do this. And as a contractor, there are contracts where you are brought in as an advisor, and so you give advice. And there's contracts where you're brought in to execute and do something, provide a service and not provide counsel. So in this case, I'm not here providing counsel. I'm just basically building the protocol out. But to the extent, I'm told to execute on a particular feature and it's not possible or feasible to implement that, or technically doesn't make sense, we said that. But the ones that they wanted to keep, we made the best. We made it as workable as possible with the constraints. For example, there's a lot of things that people wanted to put in the protocol and always push back on that. I'm like, no, the protocol is not where you do these shenanigans. You put them in a smart contract, like any kind of logic. That's I use the term shenanigans. I use that in a more general term. What I mean by that is complex logic. That's what I really mean. Like, you don't want to do that on a per transaction basis in the protocol code. Those things belong in a smart contract at the upper application layer, So I push back a lot on those. But turns out that there's some things that would have to be changed in the protocol, and I definitely push back around that. For example, I can tell you that the Flex, the Flex. I forgot the name of it for a second. The Flex program, right? It had a requirement to do a backward-looking claim inventory, like who are the people who claimed in the past 24 hours or something like that. Now, that was turning out to be quite a challenge. We potentially would need an Oracle and things like that based on the implementation that was being discussed. And that was not us that were implementing it. But one of the things that would potentially be required in there is a new opcode in the EVM. And I pushed back on that heavily because that would immediately mean that we would not have EVM compatibility anymore. We would have to maintain our own compiler, and we would just essentially make this a fork, of EVM. So those are the kinds of discussions we had to have, where we had to push back quite a bit on certain things, which is then probably what resulted is a follow-up kind of stream where some of the features were then changed from what were originally there, because it was never the case where they were first technically verified, ratified, whatever, that yes, we can build it. The developers were the last to hear about a lot of things. So that's not how you build product.
Why EVM?
Why EVM?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did you guys choose to go that route, to be an EVM chain?
Our initial contract was to fork Binance Smart Chain.
Okay, so basically, like, you didn't have you were just doing what?
Yeah, we were contracted to fork Binance Smart Chain.
Yeah, that's what they brought to your table. Like, we want you to fork Binance. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. That probably would have been a bit better. You could have swapped out the consensus a lot easier. The Tendermint. Yeah. You'd have a ton more functionality. You'd have WASM. And I mean, a bunch more when it comes to cross-chain messaging, but yeah, I'll start getting off into the weeds with that one. So I'll just stop there. You'd also have the Cosmos SDK to use and build off of.
I love me some Cosmos. Just gonna say right there.
All right, are we ready for another question?
Yes.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Let's see. Biz says, why would full node holders POA would want to change to move to POS with possibility of having deep pockets outweigh those who built the foundation? With POA, it's a fair playing field.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that it's a misnomer to think that only individuals with deep pockets can participate in proof of stake, because you can have pools and people with smaller shares can participate in those pools, and that's working fine on Ethereum right now and other chains like that.
I disagree with that.
Okay.
Oh, not with what you said. What Biz's comment.
Yeah.
Oh.
That it would be more fair with proof of authority.
You want to talk about it, Bob, or is that?
Well, it just goes back that it's a centralized entity, right?
Mm-hmm.
To onboard a POA consensus, right? You got a master node that basically launches Genesis. Then all validators send requests to said centralized authority to join the network. And either that master node or whoever's running it, the entity, accepts or rejects them. Then after you're accepted, that centralized authority can take away your authorization to continue making blocks. A violation of code of conduct, like how we have over at Noble or Binance. And, just other things. It could just be petty grievances between people. And then the next thing you know, validators are clicking up and trying to get another validator pushed out of the set. So, yeah, a proof of stake system, it's just like a classic proof of stake system would just require X amount of coins to begin mining blocks. That's pretty much it. So long as you have the very minimum, like with waves, for example, if you wanted to join the waves validator set, you need 25,000 waves. Once you have that staked in your node, where they call them generators instead of validators, you're on the set and you're mining blocks like the rest of them. Obviously, the more you have staked, the higher VP you have, so the more blocks you're going to get, which I think it's fair. And also, proof of authority and the click consensus that's being used for Vulcan is going to have severe latency issues. So like there's this myth that proof of authority is like it's quicker, it's faster, it's more efficient. But when you look at chains that are proof of authority, you find that they've got 4 nodes as validators, like Binance 21. Noble, we had 19 because you can't have 100 nodes on it, just by the way it works. I'll use click consensus for an example. It controls the behavior of pre-commits and pre-voting to propose blocks to ensure that a validator doesn't propose blocks like back to back. Like say on block 100, they propose that block, then block 101, they don't get to propose that block. So this behavior that basically tries to like give an equal opportunity to all validators to sort of be like in a single file line. That's how I like to look at it. So then you propose and you propose and then you propose. Going up to like 100 nodes, 200 nodes alone, you're going to have severe latency issues. You're going to have downtime, right? So the next, like, let's say the next validators that are up are having terrible downtime, terrible latency issues. I mean, all of this is going to affect the chain and, processing blocks and the efficiency. So
All right. Bob, I hate to tell you this, but I have no idea what you just said. So, I seriously, I'm like, man, you guys, I'm just sitting here like every one of you are talking over my head. Well, except for Kryptonian.
Yeah, I like to dumb it down.
Yeah, you talk to me well because what you say I can understand.
Remember, I'm not the smartest guy in the room.
All right, we got a question here from Crazy Diamond. What kind of gas fees can be expected during a day of heavy blockchain traffic? Is it still going to remain low? Is the transactions per second still going to be faster?
Well, the sort of two are different issues. So one of the reasons we wanted to run this graduated sort of testnet thing is to benchmark some of these things. So I don't have that data right now, but in the course of this next month, before we get to mainnet, we would have that kind of data. We would be able to benchmark it for you and get you some of that information. So coming soon.
All right. So let's see. Next one on here is from Biz. Also, the full node holders should first have a vote if they want to change from POA to POS before even thinking of a plan.
Yeah, but before you have that vote, you need someone like Bob to explain why that move, or even Nick, one or the other, explain why that move would make sense. So you can't just vote to right. Why would you just have a vote to whether we want to change or not? You don't even know why. So
I think it's better to have a plan and people vote on the plan.
I agree.
I
agree.
But everything's been thought out. Here are the consequences. Your income, what are the changes? All of them. Put them in the plan.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Nick, I got a question. How long would it take to do a consensus change? Like just to implement it, or whoever can answer that.
Well, we're talking about essentially swapping out code, in fact, maybe not even be swapping out, just enabling potentially. So it's really about the validators, because instead of running one service, they have to run 3 services now. That's one thing. So we'd have to change the script and all the installation script, etc., things like that. And also we'd have to figure out exactly what the impact is in terms of, like, we've got 500 people right now who have a certain thing that they are expecting and how to work. Now we are changing into stake, right? So we would have to figure out, like, how does this impact the tokenomics of it? What is the stake? Just a few questions that have to be answered. So it's not, it's not crazy complex or anything like that. It's just a lot of detail that has to be figured out. That's all.
And well, I'd also want to add that for Prism, I did a consensus swap, and it took a day to switch from Tendermint to Optimint. And it was fairly quick and smooth.
Yeah, I suspect that the business issues will take us longer to sort out than the technical issues, almost.
Okay, do it. We done with the business question? We got that?
Yeah.
AA has a question here. POA needs to go to full node vote, number 1. Number 2, can this switch happen later? Haven't other blockchains switched at a later date?
There are chains on Polkadot and Kasama who they launch, some of them launch as a proof of authority. And then, like, in the first week or 2 or whatever, they swap it back to the what they call, like, the grandpa consensus, which is a nominated proof of stake. And that's actually one that I tossed out to Nick, saying, I think that's some, like, that would work. I think the best for what Vulcan's trying to do, since, like, all, like, nodes were sold. And so unless you either give people a refund back So I'm not sure if the money is there to just give everybody their money back.
It's not
on that. So doing it this way, people who bought full nodes could be validators, and those who bought light nodes can be collators, running parachains and relays, as collators. Validating a chain as, the full node, people who bought that as validators. And then both are providing a service for the chain. Rather than you have a light node, you're going to use that light node to check on, uptime and monitoring all that. When, validators are going to most likely be using something like Prometheus, where, they can check all their whatever stuff. They can run something like Panic that monitors all block uptime, voting status, did they propose which blocks, all that information is there, and then you could just export it to an Explorer where everybody can see it. So it's not like you would need 1,500 light nodes, connecting, trying to figure that out. Because again, light nodes don't provide a service. I mean, aside from you can use it as your wallet and to interact with the chain. Like if you're a developer, you don't want to spin up a full node, you and have all that data, download, the entire copy of the chain or whatever. You just want to build your application, interact with the chain. Or if you want a secure wallet, the most secure that you can get is, using the CLI on a full node or on a light node. But again, light nodes need to trust full nodes, right? They only get the headers, and the rest, you're just trusting that full node that data, the state of the chain is true. So I'm really not understanding why they would be incentivized, like in that sense, when there are much more efficient ways to do monitoring and all that stuff. It just don't really see a service that light nodes provide. And to subsidize them seems counterintuitive with trying to keep this chain, economically viable.
You guys all right? It's like everybody
just taking it all in, man.
So am I getting from what I'm hearing from Bob is that is there any way that it could be feasible to kind of it sounds like what I'm hearing is they're dead weight at this point, trying to figure them in long term. Is there a way to kind of handle the light nodes owners in a way where it's compensatory later on, to kind of make up for the issue of the previous guy? Like, is there any way we could do that from a business standpoint, not necessarily a technical standpoint? Because that's what it sounds like Bob is saying, that technically it's just not feasible. Like, it's feasible to just keep them out, where you do better with just the full nodes. Am I correct, Bob?
Very correct. And you can look at any chain. No chain they don't offer a service, and they don't bring in revenue. Light nodes, it's just pretty much, you can think of it as like your personal wallet and your way to interact with the chain. And so you'd be basically getting paid for you to have a wallet and interacting with the chain, right? That doesn't make sense. And no other chains do that. You can look at all the light nodes across, hundreds of chains, that light nodes are just there, that, they provide them, and anyone who wants to download them, set them up, run them, they go ahead and do them.
Yeah, I definitely hear what Bob is saying.
Yeah, and I remember Nik talking about that before, where I think you were like, yeah, there's the light nodes, I get it, they don't really do anything. But I remember you saying you were just trying to find a way to compensate them, because they did throw money at it. But I agree with Bob. The subsidization is just economically long term for the chain. It doesn't make sense. I don't know what could be done. I mean, that's definitely something because you got those that actually sacrificed. And what sucks about it is, just the nodes being sold. That's one, and then now light nodes. It was just a money grab. That's all that was.
Right.
That was by Brian Legend. Whatever sacrifices what that was. And I think we can all agree with. At least in my opinion, that's what I believe it is. But this is going to be a challenge, guys, to bringing this to the community. Hey, what you just bought ain't worth nothing, So,
well, I can bring a positive spin to it. The light nodes, especially, were paid $245 was the cost of each light node. Right now, the Vulcan, if we launch at $5, and let's say we have liquidity at $5, is worth $485. So it's not like they didn't get anything. They have more value than what they actually paid for them. So if you look at it that way, I'm just trying to find positives here. I was just doing some simple math, and
you could get them to do something else, like be relay nodes, for example. For cross-chain bridging and things like that, cross-chain messaging.
Yeah.
You can maybe have some of them run archive nodes so that you have full copies of the chain, from block 1 and on. And that is something, that should be incentivized for someone that's going to run, and keep the entire state. So just in case someone wants to, for whatever reason, they want to query the chain from, block 1 or block 10, whatever.
So there is something there's something feasible that they could do, right? It just, as of right now, there's, gotcha.
Not completely scrapping the light nodes. I mean, still make them available for developers and whoever want to interact with the chain or have a secure wallet.
Yeah.
And that way they can choose who they connect to and all that, and which nodes to trust, but so that they are providing a service and not just, clicking buttons, for no reason.
You could also make light nodes sort of an ancillary to the main protocol, where at some point we're going to need an oracle. I don't know if Chainlink is going to step up and start supporting this protocol. So we might have to spin up our own oracle. In that case, light nodes can act as agents or verifiers, whatever you want to call them, and essentially validate whatever the oracle's data is, and sign to that effect. And you could have a protocol there also where you require a certain threshold of light nodes to verify something before the oracle considers it legit.
That was something else that I was going to mention. Yeah. So that's doable, yeah.
I wanted to bring up this comment. Mars Bar says the dude he's talking about where is Bob?
He's been around.
He's been a long time ago.
Yeah, he's been trying to educate.
He's been trying to bring this to the community, but he and many like him have been banned. There has been a censorship, and this is why you don't know this stuff. This is why. And this is where we're moving away from, and from any community that acts in that way. There's plenty out there that want to actually help and make the safe truly DeFi, right, Bob, and keep it that way. So,
and that's the key issue is that is what one of the things that we were trying to bring to this is that there are a lot of people out there that have a lot to say, and they want to help. Bob's, I think his exact words to me, not to me, but to the community in a message the other day was anything that can help the community, help the community, he's all for. And that's where these questions come from. That's where, that's the issue that I think that we forget. We didn't have the opportunity to ask these detailed questions that if we can iron all these out, which I think we can, it's just going to make everything so much better for all of us. So, and we'll have a better blockchain, and people will see a decent reward from it because we've taken the steps to identify these problems instead of censoring people that we didn't we didn't agree with what Bob or Nick said or whatever, but I mean, these things are being hashed out to see what is going to be better for everybody. So I just wanted to jump into that one real quick, but we have a looks like a super chat from Antonio Dates Jr. And I guess, is this on yours, Creek?
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and read that?
Okay, I'll read it. Thank you, Antonio Dates, for the super chat. Appreciate it. We need to appeal to the community to hold off. If Nick and the team had the rest of the year to cook, we should be in strong position. Q1 2024, right before the bull run kicks off. This would be best. Once again, that's going to be hard to convince everybody.
It's going to be a tough sell.
Very tough sell.
I would agree with him. I think when mainnet hits, I think the set should be filled for as much as possible. I mean, because there's 500, right? 500 validators, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot. So I'm not sure if it would even get to that much, but those validators should be on a test net for like 2 months at least. And usually that's for like professional teams, people who've been doing this thing for years. So people who haven't done it before, I mean, probably should have been on a few test nets already. I mean, this year they should have been already, like 3-4 months into getting experience on the test net and then preparing, doing upgrades, switches, learning how to monitor, key management. I mean, that's a big one. Your consensus keys, your private keys. Then on top of that, the account that you declare your node from, those keys. So you got a ton of keys when you're a validator, and you got to take care of them, obviously. Then things like threshold signing, things like remote signing, running behind a sentry node, all that type of stuff. And so that's why I say that trying to get this thing launched and being like, okay, it's already launched now, let's try to get you guys on board. And none of this stuff has ever been discussed. Well, again, I was banned, so I don't really know too much of what's going on in the Vulcan Discord because I told Brian layer 1s aren't rare, and I got a perma ban.
Just for saying that. What I mean? That's just crazy, man.
Yeah, you guys can go look it up in the Vulcan Discord. Yeah, you can see.
Yeah, and then he reached out to me to try and get him unbanned. I failed.
Yeah. Amazing. I mean,
I just wanted to see what was going on because again, I was asked by friends to come take a look, and to me, this is personal because Brian ripped off my, one of my close friends, another friend of mine, and one of them was also in Clever DeFi. So since then, I've taken this all a bit personal.
Yep.
And so I'm trying to do everything I can that I know from whatever experience I have in this to get it in their best interest. And in their, not just their best interest, because what I feel would be in their best interest would be in the best interest of you guys and the rest of the community.
Well, it sounds like he scammed the wrong community, and people. So I like where we're at now. Yep. I got a question for you, Nick.
Hold on a second. NR, did you have to? I thought you had a message that you had to take off soon. Or?
Yeah, I do have to get out. I'm traveling again in the morning at like 4 or 5 a.m. It's
must be nice.
A little after 11:30 p.m. So I still have to pack and all that good stuff. So yeah, I do have to get out of here. Bob, appreciate your time. Nick, thank you very, very much for being here. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you guys. And I'll see you guys later. Thanks, Chris.
See you, bro.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, this is from the community. Nacho, I'm sure you've heard the name.
Yep.
Does he work with you or for you? Has he ever? And if yes, what does he do?
Yeah, so Nacho was a part of the team, and he built. Was working on the dApps primarily, and his essentially what I did was I transitioned him out of his current contract, which ended 2 days ago when the month ended, into a new one. With a specific task of completing the BTC full node and light node integration into the checker, because those are not there. So the first thing he had to do was to go and rescan all the smart contracts and get all the sacrifice nodes correctly in there. So that's what you see on the site right now. He's currently working on the BTC process. And then we asked the KYC company, what is it, Azure, for an export. So gonna get that integrated into the checker. And we'll call it like a Genesis token checker or something, because it won't just be sacrificed at that point. So that's his role right now, is to complete those tasks.
Is he going to stay on board?
Yeah, is he going to stay on board?
Do
you have anything else, are you done with this? We're moving on to phase or the next project. I mean, do you see him in the next scope of work? Is what I'm asking.
Yeah, all personnel decisions. If I'm handed the keys, I'll make those and I'll announce them after the fact. But I can't.
Understood.
Yeah,
you're right. I'm sorry. You're right. You did mention that, so I wouldn't even expect you to answer that. Just understand that the community, and he comes with a lot of baggage.
I have heard everything about everyone at this point about 100 times, so I am fully aware of, and I'll go into these decisions with eyes wide open.
We appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Nick. Thank you. That's all we ask, man.
Just to add on that a little bit, because another question popped in my head regarding that. What do you think about allowing the community to vote on whether some of these people stay or go?
I think that's a reasonable proposal. We'd have to figure out how the mechanics of it, but I think that's a reasonable proposal.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm willing to consider it and take it to. So maybe what we do is we wait until we kind of hear some of the changes I want to make, and then based upon that, maybe we have a follow on that. So it could be that the community must validate those decisions, something like that, so that.
Okay. One last follow up about Nacho. Obviously, I know you're very specific as to what he's working on, and I appreciate that. I mean, you're even sharing that with us. Are you going to have some sort of? How are you going to? I'm all about trust but verify. Yeah. Considering, right? Yeah. Do you have someone actually reviewing? Who's going to be reviewing and auditing his work to ensure there's no funny business? Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to bring on sort of an internal director of engineering who's essentially would lead up the technology council. And so I think within the scope of that technology council would be to review all work product so that there's always at least two sets of eyes, hopefully more on any code. And really everything we do should be open source. And so everyone can look at it and see if there's anything going on there.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Sonny T says, I will be first to say that I have a lot to learn, but I'm willing to start doing that literally tonight. Bob, she wants to attend your college, bro. And Nick, so you guys set up the classes, man.
Yeah, I need to attend this blockchain college. Jeez.
We're all going to get educated.
Yeah, I'll be there.
I have this question here, but I don't know if this is something that if Nick and Bob were to talk offline and discuss things. I'm not sure if that's something. I don't know if they would announce that, or if this would be something like a work in progress. Or I'm sure Bob has ideas and everything like that, solutions. I mean, he has been banished forever, and as far as I can remember, Bob has been, shouting from the rooftops that something was wrong, and Nick's willing to listen to him. And I don't know if they would announce anything right now. They'd have to probably discuss, what Bob would think and what Nick would think more than here. You guys agree with that? Or do you have a plan that you would want to guys talk about? Or is it just, you guys got to meet up and see?
Do I have a plan? Is that the question was, do I have a plan?
Yeah, it says, Bob, can you provide an alternate solution business-wise? I guess that would be like, as we were talking about, if there was any kind of a delay or anything like that, business-wise, would I think your expertise would be more on the blockchain and how make it better for everybody in the community. But I think that question was more around the idea that if we would be delaying or not, but, or Nick, you could maybe understand what he's talking about more.
I mean, I could definitely, on my end, I can do that. And I've also got my own down team that I work with and other colleagues. I try to put Bix in touch with a couple DAOs and some other developers. I've been pushing her to try and bring in independent developers and auditors to come take a look at the work, look at the books, see what's going on, so they can provide, an unbiased third party, peer reviewed look at what's going on to the community. But yeah, I sort of put together a plan. Well, I would say it's a plan, but stuff I've taken notes on, written down. When I've spoken to those my friends invested, we've spoken at great lengths as to what would be the best way forward and all that. But it's not formalized, so just hand in and say here's the plan. It would take a bit. So if you want to toss that question to Nick now.
Yeah, ultimately, here's the thing, right? Technology is only one part of the equation. Whenever we come up with a plan, it's got to be an integrated plan that takes care of all the different facets around deploying a particular feature or making some change like that. So we have to talk. It's not a 5-minute conversation. We have to have a couple of meetings, discuss it, have some action items. Just the usual stuff. It's that you have to do when you're planning something new. So I think I'd like to start that conversation with Bob and start having a more formal engineering team in-house, which works in a very open and transparent manner.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely needed. I think to even back to where that question that you had up a minute ago, Bob would give some sort of a different business approach or whatever. Just talking about at the very beginning, just starting on what a proof of stake, right? Or was it POS, right? I like the idea of that. How we wouldn't have to stop the chain and then bring it back up like what Bob was talking about earlier. So I think these are those things we've never really talked about openly, right? And I think people are getting a really good education as to. I mean, it's more than just. It doesn't take $6 million, okay? I'll tell you that, but at least I don't think it does. But what it takes is the right team, the right minds, the right plan, and I can see it formulating now. I actually have a lot more optimism. I'm very optimistic now, more than ever. So we need to get Nick the vote so he can do his thing. We get Bob on board and those and his colleagues and those that want to, you're reaching out to the community, Nick. Hey, you can help. Let's talk. Right? Yep. Let's do this thing. So,
yeah, much respect. Stuff. These are huge. Talking like this, a lot of people getting new knowledge. I'm learning a ton. That's why I'm so silent. Normally, I want to talk more, but Kryptonian does enough talking for everybody.
Bob, what questions did you want me to go back to?
The one right before the one you had displayed.
I think I actually missed it, so I think I moved around and I actually unstarted. Do you know what it was saying?
It was just I just saw Bob.
Oh, it was to you, Bob, specifically?
Some question. I'm not sure. I only read like a few words. Not that one. They had like a purplish profile picture.
While you're looking for that, NR still listening.
Sorry.
Oh, good.
I think this is this one.
That's it.
Oh,
yeah,
this is it. This is one.
Go ahead, Bob.
Oh,
there?
okay. I thought it was a question, but yeah, okay, it was a comment.
This is exactly what we have discussed doing. So
Yeah.
exactly. So it's good.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. And that's what I was trying to say is that I, with my experience and everything like that, I think that people, I don't know where it started, how it started, but my thing to the community is it ends here. There's no way that the value of the people that we have in these different communities that I see, that their points are just invalidated and no one's even listening to the ideas and the things that they can have that ultimately, I'm not saying, nobody's saying any kind of a delay or anything like that. Nick's plan is what it is. They get together, they come up with an idea and everything like that. I don't foresee any kind of a delay or anything. I think that they could work things through or any ideas, but it's Nick's plan, what he's going through. We have to vote, all that kind of stuff. And if Nick gets the yes, then these are things that he's going to invite people in that are going to help the blockchain and help the community, and that is what we all want. That's the way I feel about it. And that's I mean, them talking outside of this and everything like that, everybody should be cheering everywhere about that, because you have one of the smartest people I know in blockchain technology and in all these different things, and you have one, and Nick with his intelligence, and I don't even know some of the people behind the scenes that Nick knows. So it's like these guys can bring together teams of people that can make this very good for all of us, really. And I want that as much as possible. And if Nick is willing and Bob is willing, we all reap the benefits. So I'm excited.
Yep.
Yeah. There's actually one other thing that I want to also bring up as part of this DAO that I see as a problem in this community and I want to fix. That is really about making it more gender balance and having more that's an important thing that we want to also do. So just throwing that out there.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I
Could you go in a bit of detail on what you mean by that?
Well, it's heavily skewed male, basically.
Yeah, I mean, but that's like, crypto is like dominated by males.
Yeah, and there's no reason for that. There's plenty of smart women, and
and we got a Greek in there
I've
too
tried my
somewhere.
best on my lives to get, but it gets to one of those things. I mean, a lot of times they just don't want to show their face and stuff, and they just want to talk. And I can understand that, but I would love to have all kinds of different perspectives, because if you don't, then it just ends up being one of those things that you're in an echo chamber. And believe me, we all were in one very recently. So
just have more diversity. That's all. Diversity of thought, diversity of gender, culture, things like that. So you can really reflect the global.
Yeah, crypto is supposed to be a global, right? It's supposed to be a global thing, right? So, no, 100%. I believe we're really just getting started, and we've been saying that. I've been saying this for the few years that I've been really heavily in crypto. I'm a Bitcoin maxi, but as far as the alt universe here, all the altcoins and blockchain technology, and all these things.
Surveillance chain maxi.
Surveillance, yeah, pretty much. I'm just excited that we're just getting started. I think we're and that's the comment that I wanted to bring up. The NR had said, that it's just sort of something great. It really is, guys. It really is. Yep. Got a lot of stuff cooking here.
Oh, I think I went to the wrong one. Went back to the one that got Sunny, and then I see one down here. I don't see a bunch of questions now. I think we're getting into some statements.
Was that CK, the one that you before this one? CK?
No, that's Christopher Pasternak.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah, he's got some good information. He's been on some of our other lives, asked questions, and things like that. So, and then we have the link here for the voting link. So if you haven't, then Biz brought that up just a little bit earlier. And then I wanted to bring this one back up because A&A participates a lot. He's got some things to say, and I don't want to miss him. But he said I wouldn't mind. I'm assuming you think he's saying mind.
He corrected himself. It is. I wouldn't mind.
Okay, I wouldn't mind Bob in the team. He seems to know his stuff. But one, he has to be voted in by the community. Two, if the team can launch and switch over like over chains, other chains have done. And I don't know for sure if that's what the issue was. I think what Nik and Bob had planned on doing were discussing things. I don't know how that, what the plan was later on. I think this was just opening a discussion with them and everything like that. And Nik and Bob would come to the community with whatever, they decided. But that this was just opening the door for communication between them. And if I'm wrong on that, let me know. But that's what I got from it, that you guys would talk.
Well, I mean, a vote on me, right? And we know how many of the community, with the whole "don't flood your bag" mentality, BS, and how they've treated many of us. It's more like personal grudges that a lot of people in this community have against people that are irrational. And I think me and the other group by people, they're not really looked at too well with many in the Vulcan safuu community. So a vote like that, for me, I'd be a bit hesitant. I mean, I'd love to join, sure, and help out in any way, but yeah, I mean, I'm sort of on the fence on if it's like, okay, we need to vote on Bob and all that, go through that process, but whatever the community wants.
Cool.
And then you got the community saying this. I think Bob is a perfect example of allowing banned Discord members to come back and actually become valuable contributing members of this community. And that's all he ever really wanted, Bob and those that have been silenced. So yeah, and this is how we build great things, is we allow great people and great minds to come together. And this is what we're going to do. The community is speaking, the community is speaking. Cool.
Yeah, quite a few comments, different things here and there. But at the same time, I think everybody needs to take into consideration that what Bob and Nik are talking about is just having a discussion. There's nothing, like I said, the vote has to come through, and it has to be a yes. And Nik's going to have a lot on his plate. He's got to start implementing his plan. Bob could be, talking to him about stuff, but Nik's Nik's the guy. So don't get this confused. Bob's just going to be doing whatever he can to help out anywhere he can. And if that turns into something later on, I mean, great. If it doesn't, Bob's he's got a voice now, and he can help the community whatever way he can. And there seems to be, like, C. Rodriguez and stuff like that. There's several people in the chat that have some ideas and stuff like that. I mean, this could turn into something that they could be, all talking together and, come up with. I see this as just a benefit for all of us, because these smart people are going to do some really good things for the blockchain, and we're all going to reap the benefits of it. Because I don't think any one of them here is going to be like, I'm going to secretly, hash out these issues to sabotage the blockchain. I mean, this is good stuff. I mean, if they don't agree on this, or they're going back and forth, they're going to figure it out. These are smart people, and we got tons of them in our chat. You can just see them all. I mean, some of them think they're smart, but they are. So
you didn't have to point me out.
Yeah, my bad. I don't see, like, I think a lot of statements. Are you guys not seeing any? Oh, something starred. Did you? Okay, that's the one you already brought up.
Yes,
all
sir.
Right. I don't see a whole lot of questions. Do you guys have? If anybody's got any?
Just a whole lot of learning and a lot of people taking it in.
Oh, here's one. I did not see this. Kelly Productions. Nik, when ETH merged to POS, you guys mentioned a chain gold. What would that entail exactly? Live trading, and how long?
Chain Galt. That's the phrase I'm throwing. There's a
I think he
typo
means
there.
chain halt.
Halt.
Chain halt is
Ah,
probably what he meant.
Yeah, I was like, I don't.
Yeah, the G and H are next to each other on the keyboard.
Okay.
yeah. Let's
Oh,
not get ahead of ourselves. We have to strategize on this and come up with a plan, etc. So I think all these tactical questions, they need to be addressed as part of a plan. Whatever we say right now, we're just speculating. We need to have a concrete plan in place, and all these things are part of that. So
I like it. Good answer.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, this is just opening a door and giving people a voice. And now Nik can reach out to Bob, and they can talk. And then I don't know. Like I said, I saw C. Rodriguez in there. He was he's got a lot of interesting stuff. I hope that he could maybe reach out and talk and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's what this is all about. And this is Nik and Biz puts it down here. Everyone that was banned, once Nik gets all the votes, if Nik gets the vote, I think Biz is being like, if Nik gets all the votes, and this is something that we're moving forward, we'll be rebranding, have a new Discord and socials. So all will be invited to join the new community. And that's where, if you got questions for Bob will be there. Nik will be there. There'll be, a bunch of people there, and we'll all be able to talk about it and be respectful and turn everybody into just like one big group hug. It's going to be kind of crazy, but that'll be.
Chris, I'm an optimist, but I tell you, we are not out of the woods yet. We've got to go through the valley and do a lot of healing, a lot of communication, a lot of repairing, a lot of planning, and we'll come out of that stronger. But I don't think anyone should have the illusion that we set up a new Discord and it's kumbaya. It's
There's going to be quite a bit of
we got to go through all that. It's going to be rougher before it gets smoother.
Yeah, I agree with that. That'll be quite interesting to see, actually. I would like to see.
Yeah, we still need to shake a lot of the poop off the stick. All right, so it's going to be
exactly.
One thing I will just say is everybody's got to have an open mind and just be open, and that's all you can ask for: respect and openness, and good things happen.
And Biz was saying he was being optimistic when he said when.
Yeah,
I'm 100% optimistic on that vote.
I don't know, guys. There's okay, so I'll just say comment. I don't want to miss any kind of questions or anything like that would be here.
What happens if, for some reason, people say no on that proposal? Is it a take it or leave it type situation? That if they say no, you completely step away from Vulcan?
Well, honestly, I thought really hard and came up with a plan taking into consideration all the pros and cons and the various angles. So I guess the next step would be to identify what people were saying no to. Were they saying no to me? Were they saying no to my plan? But I'm prepared to go for a round two, but it's not a take it or leave it, but it's please take most of it, because we can't be willy-nilly just changing things and talking about this for a long time. So yeah, I'm a reasonable person, and I'm willing to consider negotiation about things for sure.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think a lot of people out there have really liked the times that you have spent with the lives and your answers and everything like that. And like here, we just passed 3 hours. So, and I think Mike fell asleep. I'm not sure. I think I heard him snoring before he went on mute, but I'm not positive. So
he's making him some coffee, probably.
He's actually there. He is.
Yeah, Bob getting into all those technical details. Ooh.
I'm telling you, man. I'm sitting over here going, when Bob says, "Hey, friend, I'm done," I'm like, okay, what does he mean by that? But I think we should wrap it up. I mean, unless we want to talk more stuff that you guys are going to be over my head. But
I have a ton more. Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to keep it as as compressed and simple as possible.
Wait, this was the simple version.
Oh my goodness.
So
you know,
the cool thing about that is Bob, is Nik has extended. Hey man, let's talk. So hopefully you guys you can get all your questions like one-to-one, because I know you've been holding back, man, 100%. Unless you want to do some rapid fire right now. I mean, I'm game, but
especially because I didn't get sleep last night. Like I've been up for like 32 hours now, and so I'm like, my mind's like in another place while trying to do this.
This
totally
is his mind.
No, and we appreciate your time, both Nik and Bob and Mike for joining. You know, we pulled you guys out of your elements, man, and we asked that you guys come and chat with us in the community. So, mad respect to all of you for doing that, and we really appreciate your time. I know everyone that's going to watch this is going to appreciate this, because now I think this has probably been the most probably cutthroat, to the point live we've had about this project.
right.
I mean, hands down. And this is just, I think, one of many. So I appreciate you guys. And I'll leave that to you. Bob, did you want to ask that last question before you doze off?
I got to do more work. I'll be up for like the next 6 to 8 hours before I'm able to like finally get some sleep.
Okay.
Biz, I have the chat to both Discords open, watching for anything that we're tagged in. So does Kryptonian, and we've been following along the whole time. A lot of the questions that were put in by Kryptonian or myself were actually taken from there, and so we've kept them involved. Okay. I think the best thing to do now is that we have the vote, right? We're in the middle of it. It's going to Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Nik, do you have some type of, I know we talked about, did you have some type of event that you were either going to do like a live stream or do something in the Discord or something like that, like with the results, or is it just going to be?
I want to do something. I haven't finalized what though. So
well, if you need any of us, I'm sure any of us would be available to help. To turn the switch on and let people know. I mean, we all would probably be a part of it, but if you need any help there, anything like that, I know I'm excited about to see what the results are and everything, and we'll continue talking about it.
Yep, I appreciate that, and in the interim, I'll follow up on some of these action items. My to-do list after every live stream goes longer and longer, but that's okay. I signed up for it, so we'll follow up, and I will definitely be in touch with you, Bob, and we'll get the conversation going.
Sounds good.
That's awesome. That's great news. I hope. I can't wait to see what the fruits that we're all going to see with all that. But guys in the panel, you got anything else? Mike, you got anything you want to let us know? We'll start wrapping up. You got any final words or anything?
Yeah, just thanks for Nik, the openness, the transparency. I think it's going to go a long way for the community. I think it's going to be, continually important to distance yourself from Brian. Just guilty by association. I think there's work to be done there. But yeah, I think if you keep pushing forward with what you're doing, I think good things are going to come out of this. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I concur with that 100%. Absolutely. I got a question for me, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, you got to answer this one.
And I was being nice about it. Chris Cruz, can you ask Kryptonian what does shake all the poof off the stick mean? Use your imagination. You're in media, brother. You know what I'm talking about.
Kelly.
Yeah, we were. I would even say, we were talking about the shit sandwich that we've been presented with. Well, just use your imagination. But yeah, sorry, I had to say it, man. It's the truth.
All right,
things look good.
All right, it's dinner time. See you all.
Thank
you so much.
Thanks, Nik. Thanks,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Appreciate
Take care,
you.
Nik.
Great chatting with you all. Bye-bye.
Bye. Greek, you got anything? I mean, we'll wrap it up.
I just want to say thank you to Mike and Bob for joining us. Also, I was a very divisive person in Brood, and they took me in. Bob especially helped bring me into Brood. He sheltered me in there, made sure I had a private chat where like we could discuss things, and they were testing me out, see where my loyalties were. And then now I'm a full-fledged member, and they just brought me in. And I say thank you so much.
You're welcome. Man.
Yeah. No, you've earned it, Greg. So, I think everyone has. It was hard for a lot of you guys to come in there, and people can.
Yeah, Fowler got ripped, man.
I was a little disappointed because I thought Defi would have made more memes about me, but I was like, dude, seriously? I mean, what was
You're
I
like the oldest guy
liver?
on the internet, bro? He respects you.
I have to say, I have a ton of respect for Fowler and how when he came out and he started shutting things down, like when your map said we need to get new investors, and this was like the day after you guys finally saw a lot of what we had, and he just shut it down, and much respect to him for that. And then when he announced that he was going to be building on Hedera, he's making the right moves, I think. So a lot of respect to him. He's earned my respect.
Thank you. Man, I can only try to earn it because there's a lot more people that was hurt by being uninformed. So last thing I want to do is go out there and do the same exact thing again and just be like, act like it didn't happen when clearly it did. So the only thing I feel like I could do to help everybody is to make sure we get to the finish line the best way we can. So that's what I'm here for.
Awesome. And C. Rodriguez, I know I did not get to all your comments, but you were talking in between, to different people. Man, I really, really hope that you can reach out and make that happen. And anybody else that's out there, please just, I want as many people as possible with knowledge that can help the situation. And I saw a lot of your comments, and I hope that works out.
Would have been good to have TCL on this one.
I think that there was, but the problem with TCL was so late.
It was late. It was kind of a last minute thing. As you know, he's just as busy as you are, Bob. But yeah, it definitely would have been nice. He's gonna be like, damn, Bob was on here, Mike too. But it's all good. But hopefully, Mike, this is probably like the third time you've joined us, and I really appreciate you, man, jumping on here. And Bob, of course, I know we're chatting all the time, but you actually taking the time when you should be working or sleeping. We hope, and I'm sure the community is going to hope that you guys join us more often, and not to just shoot the shit like we always do, and talk fake moon landings and stuff like that, but really getting the protocol, moving forward, because your insight, your experience is exactly what people need to hear and be talking about. So thanks to you guys, and that's all I have for you guys. I'm done.
Yeah, thank you guys.
I'm about ready to wrap it up here, but Biz brings up a good point. Says thanks Bob and Mike for coming, and expect to have you both become regulars. I can say for myself, anytime that I turn the button on and have any kind of lives, if you guys know how to get a hold of me, you want to come on, you want to straighten me out with whatever nonsense or whatever that I've talked about or whatever, then you are more than welcome to come on, and I'm sure the other YouTubers. But
of course.
Open door.
My DMs are open in Discord to whoever wants to reach out for anything, any reason. My emails are open too, so if anyone wants to, go ahead.
Yeah, Bob was. I have to say that my journey was it began with Bob. I had questions, and Bob spent an enormous amount of time educating me. So, and we have a long chat history of me asking questions and him educating me, and a friendship. I remember seeing him in a Discord recently somewhere, and I was like, "Hey, Bob, I didn't know you were in this Discord." But then he got booted, so, and I was like, "Goodness." But I hope that that's over with.
5 times.
Yeah, I hope that time is over and we can move forward. And like Dink was saying, we got a lot to do, but these are the steps, man. If we can have this open dialogue, and this open dialogue that we have, that can bring teams together behind the scenes. I mean, we don't need to know all that stuff, but if we can have that dialogue, if someone feels like their voice isn't being heard, reach out. We'll bring you on, and we'll talk about it and clear the air and everything like that, so that it can benefit the whole community. But I'm done. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. So if you have any questions or anything come up we didn't answer it, please reach out to us all. And like, if you reach out to Bob, he might be able to tell you. You guys might be able to. You never know. You send something to Bob. You might be like, Bob, I got this great idea, and Bob be like, this is what you should do, or I have no idea.
I threw out the idea to a couple of people who bought nodes for Vulcan. I told them that I'd be willing to fork Ethereum, the same as they did, use the click consensus proof of authority, and I'll get it started for them. They onboard, and they can begin getting practice on what would be, basically Vulcan, just without that smart contract that's rebasing and minting coins. But that way they get practice, using the command line interface, learning the commands and all that. So if anyone's interested in that, I'd be up for that.
That's awesome.
This is Bob's life. Defi has it figured out. Bob enters a Discord, asks 10 rapid fire questions, banned.
That's the first time I met him in my Discord. That's exactly what he did. And he just kept, and then Prado was in my Discord, and he kept asking Prado questions. I loved it.
Sonny, I guess now, Bob, you've opened a whole can of worms here now. I guess we're getting questions here. Sonny asks, does that cost money to do what you were just talking about? You lost me at fork, man. So I don't know what you're talking about. You're going to make a fork? All right.
Basically clone Ethereum, right? Just take the first block and then fork the Genesis block on over, which would basically mean that we're starting another chain exactly how Ethereum started those. And then add in the consensus that Nik's using. And boom, you got basically the same thing that they're running.
And this would be to help node holders pretty much know what to do and practice and all that. Am I understanding that right?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be fairly quick. I could do it in about an hour, and then we can start onboarding people and just, do like a private testnet type thing for people to get experience.
To get experience and everything like that. And like what Sonny was saying, does that cost money to do that? Or is that, I have no idea.
It does, but I have contracts with Volter, OVH, Hetzner, Pebble, Phoenix Nap. So we can get 2 months, 3 months without having to pay anything. So, and Linode as well. So yeah, it wouldn't cost anything.
Jeez, that would be good.
So yeah, so the vote, we got to get the vote, and we got to move forward with certain things. Hopefully everybody has an understanding of that, and just Bob being here, hopefully this has sparked some ideas and maybe helped some people see a little bit clearly as to what Nik's trying to do, and what if everybody gets together and what they can do in the future. But I really, truly am going to end it because I am too tired to talk about it anymore. So like I said, if you guys got any questions, and okay, hold on a second. Sonny, you're killing me.
You can come in my Discord and Bob will answer any question.
Yeah, you can. Oh, I'm sorry, dear. I don't want to make you. Okay, you're gonna DM him. Okay, yeah, okay. If you want to, if you want to ask him now, that's fine. Okay, all right.
He could ask now if you want, or you want to close the stream.
She's gonna talk to you in Discord. She said.
She said that she's going to talk to you about it in the Discord.
Right. Okay. I'll be around.
Yeah, I think everybody's good. All right. I didn't mean to cut you off, Sonny T, but I'm done. I am really leaving this time. I hope everybody got everything they could out of this. I hope it sparks some community engagement from people that have felt like they didn't have a voice, and hopefully this is all for the best. And Kryptonian, what is your final words all the time?
Dude writing for no man, and ask Bob.
Ask Bob.